Apparently, I am.
Hello. Hello. So we're just gonna be doing reaction videos again. Oh my god, my character's tweaking out. Typically is because, well, I tweak the settings a little bit just to see how it works out. retroactively making my avatar a little more reactive than normal, and it might be tweaking a little bit. It looks so goofy. I try to do different facial expressions, see how it reacts and whatnot. I squint a lot, so you're gonna see me squinting a lot. Oh my goodness. It doesn't have an angry reaction. At least I try to get it to try to do an angry reaction, but it doesn't really do it. Anywho, without further ado, I think we can hop straight into it. I mean, we're basically just gonna be watching videos and whatnot. There's a few interesting ones that oh my god, I just did a shocked reaction. No, it's not doing it. Interesting. It didn't do it. Okay, it had done it earlier. It was so like so goofy looking. Wow. No, really? Do I have to look down for that? Yeah. I have to look down. Oh my god, no. Okay, that's so weird. Okay, obviously it's not the best syncing. This is a free model. But it's still pretty funny. At least it's a little more reactive. He used to be real stiff. Now he has a little more character to him. It's kind of funny. Well, I mean, yeah, so the videos I got lined up to watch today, I'm going to be leaving in the description as usual. Let me see. So it's going to be 15 creepiest places in Japan. Reddit warns you to never visit. That is probably the first one we're going to watch. And we got disturbing games based on true events. Then horrors on GoFundMe. And finally, 10 scary videos people wish they had never seen. That's gonna be the lineup for today. And then maybe we'll run a game. Maybe, perhaps, mayhaps, we could run a game. Maybe we'll do more zombies. Maybe. I've been meaning to do Dark Souls again, which I do have downloaded, but I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys, see what we do. I'll ask later once we're done with all the videos. I'm just gonna wait a few more minutes, wait for our last stragglers to show up and whatnot, and then we'll start watching the videos. I should grab some water. Do I have water here? I have a little bit of water. Agua. H2O. Ugh. Well, that tastes bitter. No. The water tasted bitter. I don't like that. Oh no. Why did the water taste bitter? I don't see anything in there, but it tasted weird. Ugh. I'm gonna have to get new water. Oh boy. Anywho, after that disaster, drink more soda, they said. I'm kidding. Unless. Well, I mean, I guess we could start watching it now. What do we say? Start watching it now. Should probably change the screen so you can see it, huh? That would be very helpful. Yes, it would, wouldn't it? It would be very helpful. Yes. In game. There's the tab. What's up, people? Hello. Let me see. Is it window capture? What window do I have captured? Is it the right one? Yeah, it is. Shadow capture bunk. There it is. Woohoo! Wow, it's massive though. I have to shrink it a little bit. Shrink it, dink, dink. Bonk. I'll just shift click it. Oh no, not shift click it. Control click it. Yeah, it should be. Maybe it's. Yeah, there you go. You know what? I'll put it there so you can see the whole thing, I think. No, because you don't have to see the corners. You just have to see the video. Man, I hate how it resized everything. Why would it resize everything on me like that? That's so mean. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me here. This one's a little tricky because I have to size it in a certain way so you can still see the majority of the video. Alright, I think we're good. I think we're good. Let's, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Alright. Looks like we're streaming now. Yep. I'm gonna pause the music. Goodbye to lo-fi music. Boom. And we're ready. Alright. We're starting off with 15 creep. Wow. I can speak English, I swear. 15 creepiest places in Japan. Reddit warns you to never visit. This is by Hollow Japan and Hollow China. I'll leave the link to the video if you guys want to see it in your own time and whatnot. Who is this by again? Hollow Japan and Hollow China. I just said that. That's so funny. Video 1. Hollow Japan. Not me caps locking everything. Hollow Japan and Hollow China. And link. Update. All right.
In southern Japan,
let's get to it.
There is a tunnel in southern Japan with a message scratched into the rock. It says the laws of Japan end here. And in 1988, right there, a 20-year-old man was dragged from his car and killed at the tunnel's mouth. And the sealed walls threw the sound back into the dark. We know how that sounds. You probably cannot picture a place like that being real. It is. So I spent weeks going down Reddit threads.
Isn't this tunnel that inspired the whole, what is it? Dandaran tunnel?
On the creepiest places in Japan.
It looks almost
the ones locals warn travelers away from and leave off the maps on purpose. The same names kept coming up. 15 of them, a stage of women cut loose above a gorge. A whole town that stopped dead at a single second. 15 places. And Japan wishes you would forget everyone. Number 15. A man is in his trunk. The car is climbing a mountain road he cannot see. When it stops, he is at the mouth of a sealed tunnel, and the people who dragged him there have brought gasoline. That is not a legend. On December 7th, 1988, the burned body of a 20-year-old factory worker was found at the Inunaki Pass in Fukuoka. A group of teenagers had taken his car, beaten him with wrenches, and killed him at the old tunnel because the echo meant no one would hear. The judge at the appeal called the cruelty unlike anything he had seen. The old Inunaki tunnel was finished in 1949 and sealed shut decades ago. And this is where the real crime grew a second skin. In the 90s, a story spread online about a hidden village past the tunnel, a place that flies its own flag and rejects the Japanese constitution, where outsiders do not come back. That last part is pure internet myth, born on a message board, not in any police file, but people still go looking anyway. That tunnel needed a legend to stay frightening. What comes next needed nothing at all. 55 women were sent into the water on purpose. Number 14. Picture a wooden stage built out over a gorge. On it, 55 women in full dress, dancing because they have been told there is a party.
Okay.
Below them, nothing but the drop and the river. This is Oiran Buchi in Yamanashi, the courtesan's abyss. The story goes back to the Takeda clan in the 1500s, who ran a secret gold mine in these mountains and used the women to entertain the miners. When the gold ran dry, the mine had one problem left. The women knew where it was, so the men built the stage and invited the women up to rehearse a thank you dance. And then it happens. The women dance, the men cut the supports, the platform drops, all 55 into the gorge at once. Now, there is no death record for those 55 women. What there is a place people have refused to build near for 400 years, and a name that never changed. Sometimes the absence of a record is the loudest part. You cannot fact check a river. But the next place people tried to fact check, and what they found is stranger than the ghost story. If this is the kind of hidden Japan you want more of, go ahead and subscribe, because digging up the real history under these places is the only thing this channel does. Number 13. A young woman stands in the center of a room. Ropes are tied to her wrists, her ankles, her neck, and pulled slowly in different directions. They call it the strangling ritual, and the family does it once every 50 years to keep something sealed. You may have heard this one. A cursed mansion outside Tokyo, a rite gone wrong, a whole family found dead. It is one of the most retold horror stories in Japan. Here is the twist. None of it is real.
Whoa.
There is no Himura family, no strangling ritual, no massacre. The whole thing was written for a horror video game in 2001, and the American version was sold with the words based on a true story stamped on the box.
Got it.
That single lie escaped the game and became folklore. There are no police reports, no newspaper, no graves.
I see what they mean.
So decide which is creepier, that a family did this, or that a marketing line convinced a country it remembered something that never happened. The next place is the opposite problem. Everyone knows exactly what it is. It is a door to the dead, and it is still open. Number 12. The smell hits you before anything else. Rotten eggs, sulfur, thick enough to taste. The ground is grey and blistered, steam pushing up through cracks, and there is no birdsong at all. People built a temple here on purpose. This is Mount Osora in Aomori. The name means Fear Mountain, and it sits inside the crater of a volcano that Japanese belief calls one of the gates to the underworld. That is belief, not geology, but stand on that grey plain and you will not argue. Pilgrims come to a riverbank they say souls must cross, and they stack small stones for children who...
I'm sorry. He keeps telling all these stories and legends, but then he doesn't really go in depth. He just kind of here's a general gist of what the story is. Okay, moving on. He doesn't talk about origin. He doesn't talk about why. I mean, at first he talked a little more about it, but I don't know. It seems so vague. Oh, there's this mountain, sulfuric acid. People believe is a gate to the underworld. Why do they believe this? I don't know. There's nothing.
Who died, because the legend says the children are trapped, stacking them forever. And once a year, blind women called Itako sit here and say they will let you speak to your dead.
What the fuck?
There are only about 20 of them left in the world. The warning about Osorizan was never about getting in. It is about what might answer you when you try to speak to the dead.
Weird.
We have earned a breath after that one. So the one coming up is going to sound almost gentle.
Okay.
Almost. Number 11. Okay, I need to be straight with you for a second. We have spent this whole list on murder and poison and a door to the dead. This next one is different.
Okay.
There is no body here. It is, and I cannot believe I am saying this on this channel, a little bit sweet. On July 1st, 1961, a Japanese businessman opened his own Disneyland,
Okay.
Nara Dreamland. He had gone to California, fallen in love with it, and come home to build his own, street for street, castle for castle, right down to a Sleeping Beauty castle. When the Disney deal fell through, he gave it his own mascots and opened anyway. For 20 years it worked. Then the real Tokyo Disneyland opened in 1983 and the children stopped coming. It closed in 2006 and for 10 years it just sat there. The castle bleaching in the sun, the roller coaster rusting over an empty parking lot until they finally tore it down. A man built a dream to outlast him.
Whoa.
It outlasted him by 10 years, then went in a landfill. Alright, breath over, cause where we go next there are two real bodies. Number 10, a professor drives up a quiet hill outside Tokyo with a young woman in the passenger seat.
That last one was kind of sad, not gonna lie. He really wanted to capture the joy and, just really capture this element of nice and joy, right? And, corporate greed and whatnot. Insert corporate greed joke here. No, generally, though, that really is sad. I wish it would have been successful. It almost reminds me of the Spirited Away in a way, because at the beginning it's like they're like, oh, it's like an amusement park. Wow. Kind of reminded me of that. Obviously, it was like vacant, because it's not really for a living. Shit, I just dropped something. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. It's really sad though.
Only he comes back down. The Doryodo temple in Hachioji was already a place people avoided, but two real crimes sealed it. In 1963, the temple's 82-year-old caretaker was robbed and murdered on the grounds.
Oh, jeez.
Then, in 1973, a university professor took a student he had been secretly involved with, strangled her, and buried her body near the temple.
Oh no.
When the affair came out, he killed his own family and then himself. Her body was not found for 7 months.
Wow.
After that, the people nearby started reporting a young woman's voice in the trees at night,
Oh, that's so fucked
not
up.
moaning, calling out, "Here, I am here," which is exactly what a body says when no one has found it yet. The temple was torn down in 1983 and the hillside turned into a public park, the way Japan so often paves over the thing it does not want to look at. Speaking of things buried under construction, the next place has bodies in the walls, and the men who built it were never paid. Number 9. The workers are digging through a mountain by hand, no pay, no rest, and when one of them drops, the tunnel keeps moving forward without him. Kiyotaki Tunnel near Kyoto was cut in 1927, and it was cut by Korean laborers working in conditions so brutal that an Osaka newspaper reported 50 of them rising up against the site in 1928.
Wow.
Men died here from exhaustion and accidents, and then the town quietly forgot they had ever come. Drivers say the tunnel is exactly 444 meters long, and 4 in Japanese is the sound of the word for death. So a tunnel that is triple death is the worst possible number.
Yeah.
The truth is, the survey does not match that story. The 444 is folklore.
Yeah.
But the mirror on your car,
That makes
the
sense.
one people swear shows a face that is not in your seat, that legend they will tell you to your face before you drive in. The horror here is not the mirror. It is that a country built a road on people and then agreed together to forget them. Hold on to that word, forget. Because the next place, Japan did not just forget.
Corporate greed.
It took an entire
It's a real
island off the
monster.
map.
Number 8. A worker pulls off his mask at the end of a shift,
Okay.
and his skin is blistering, and he has been told, on paper, that he is making fertilizer. Remember this island. From 1929 to 1945, on Okunoshima in the inland sea, the Japanese army made poison gas,
Yeah.
over 6,000 tons of mustard gas,
Yeah.
on an island so secret that the government erased it from its own maps,
Yeah.
so no enemy and no citizen would know it was there. The workers were not told what they were breathing. Many carried the damage in their lungs for the rest of their lives
Yeah.
and stayed silent for decades before the government would even help them. Keep that in your head, a place Japan wiped off the map to hide what it did. It happens again before we reach number 1. And the part nobody can soften is this.
They banned that.
Today,
It was
Okunoshima is
used
covered
for
in
gas.
wild rabbits, hundreds of
War
them,
crime.
and tourists take selfies feeding them on the exact ground
Rabbits
where the
and
gas was
lions.
made. A petting zoo on a war crime.
Whoa, that's insane.
Somewhere
It's even
else,
crazier.
another man broke ground he should have left alone, and the
Okay.
workers who built it for him started to die.
Eesh.
Number 7. The developer stands on his half-built hotel
Oh,
and
this is
swears
that-
he will
I
sleep
know
here
this
every
place.
night
This
until it
place
is finished.
massive.
3
We've
nights
taken care of
later,
this
they take
before.
him away, and he does not come back the same.
Yeah.
On a hill in Okinawa, about 150 feet, 50 meters,
I forgot
from
the
a
name.
500-year-old castle, a businessman started building a luxury hotel in the 1970s.
It was
Monks
so
from a
massive.
nearby temple warned him.
Yeah.
The ground held old graves and sacred sites, they said,
He genuinely
and
was
to build
warned.
on it was a desecration. He ignored them. Then the accident started. Workers
This is
died on the
massive,
site,
There's so
one
much.
after another, in ways that spooked the crews so badly that they walked off the job and refused to come back.
Yeah. I would
The
too.
developer, the story goes, tried to prove them wrong by sleeping there alone. He lasted 3 nights,
Yep.
then lost his mind,
Yep.
and depending on who tells it, was committed or took his own life. That last part is the kind of thing people repeat, not something anyone can prove.
Right.
What is real is the shell they left behind,
Mhm.
a hotel that was never finished, never opened,
Hotel room.
standing over a castle for 40 years until it too was finally torn down.
Yep.
The place after this was not almost empty. It was a full city of 15,000 people. Then, in a single season, every one of them was gone.
It's like the Silent Hill thing.
Number 6. 15,000 people living in a city in the clouds,
Mhm.
and then, almost overnight, nobody.
Yeah.
High in the mountains of Iwate, wrapped in fog so thick the town could barely be seen, Matsuo was once the
Is
largest
this
sulfur
the-
mine in
the
East
town as
Asia.
far as Silent Hill? It should be.
From 1914, it grew into a full city, concrete apartment blocks with central heating and flushing toilets. Luxuries most of Japan did not have yet, 15,000 people living above the cloud line. Then the sulfur business collapsed. The company went bankrupt at the end of the 60s. The mine closed, and there was no reason for a city on a freezing mountain to exist anymore. Everyone left. What they left behind is 11 concrete blocks, slowly rotting in acidic fog, the metal bleeding orange down the walls, so bleak that people who go there call it the real Silent Hill.
Yeah.
There was no massacre at Matsuo. The horror is the speed. A whole city, full and warm and modern, emptied out in a single generation and handed back to the fog. Fog and forgetting is the pattern here.
Crazy line.
At the place we are going now,
Handed back
an
to-
entire castle of women chose the drop over what was climbing the hill toward them.
Number 5. The castle is falling. The men who could fight are somewhere else, and the ones left on the mountain can already hear the enemy on the walls. The women gather at the top of the waterfall. In 1590, the warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi sent an army of 50,000 against Hachioji
50,000
Castle,
strong.
held that day by barely 1,300 defenders. The castle fell in a single day, and the legend says that when it was clear the fight was lost, the women and children inside went to the waterfall and threw themselves into it rather than be taken,
Whoa.
and that the water ran red for 3 days.
Wow.
Now, historians today doubt the red water. The siege is real, the slaughter is real. The doubt is only about that last detail.
Yeah.
But go to that waterfall at dusk and ask the locals what they hear on the anniversary. They will tell you the mountain still keeps the day. That is a battle 4 centuries gone. The next one executed men in living memory.
That was crazy.
Then it built a shopping mall on top of them. Number 4, 60 floors of shops, offices, and tourists sit stacked in a Tokyo skyscraper. And directly under the ground floor is the spot where they hanged the men who ran a war. Sunshine 60 opened in 1978 as the tallest building in Japan. Before it, on that exact land, stood Sugamo Prison. And inside Sugamo, on December 23rd, 1948, 7 men were executed for their part in the Second World War, including the wartime Prime Minister, Hideki Tojo. 51 more war criminals were put to death on that site, and hundreds more served their sentences there. They tore the prison down in 1971 and put a shining tower and a mall on the spot, with a small stone in a nearby park, the only marker that any of it happened. Staff in the lower levels have talked for years about sounds and figures in the basement, the parts of the building closest to the old ground. You can buy an ice cream today, standing above a gallows. That is Tokyo. It builds up so fast it forgets what it is standing on.
Yeah.
This time, nobody built anything at all. People just walked in and did not walk out the same. And I have to handle this one carefully. Number 3, there is a forest at the foot of Mount Fuji, so dense and so quiet that the lava rock underfoot swallows sound. And a few steps off the trail, you cannot tell which way you came in. This is Aokigahara, the Sea of Trees. It grew on hardened lava from an eruption in the year 864, 12 square miles, about 30 square kilometers, of forest so thick that compasses wander and the silence feels physical. And it has carried a reputation for the dead for a very long time. In Japanese belief, the forest is home to yurei, the spirits of people who died with something unfinished, unable to move on. Long before the modern reputation, there is a much older story, ubasute, the practice in times of famine of carrying the old and the sick deep into the mountains and leaving them there to die.
Yeah, I've heard about
No one can actually prove it happened in this forest, but the belief that it did has clung to these trees for centuries, and the idea of people led in and not brought back is the oldest fear the place holds. Japan has worked hard on this forest, with patrols and signs and people whose whole job is to walk in and gently walk others back out. The trees are beautiful. That is almost the worst
It's
part.
not just because of like getting
Before the
lost,
last
but also
place,
because
take a breath.
suicide is a very big
Because number 1 is where all of this, the labor, the water, the forgetting comes together on a single rock in the sea. Number 2, a clock on a wall stopped at the moment everyone ran. A meal still on a table. A whole town and not one living person in it. On March 11th, 2011, the earthquake and tsunami wrecked the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, and within a day, the towns around it, Futaba, Nami, the whole ring, inside 12 miles, about 20 kilometers, were ordered out. Everyone, all at once. People grabbed what they could carry and drove, thinking they would be back in a few days. They were not back in a few days. Some were not back for 11 years.
Wow.
The towns sat sealed behind checkpoints, the shops full, the homework still on the school desks, weeds coming up through the streets while radiation made the place uninhabitable.
Wow.
And this is the second time. Okunoshima, Japan erased to hide a weapon. Futaba, Japan sealed to survive one. 2 towns wiped off the living map inside a single century, one on purpose, one by accident, both frozen at the exact second the people left. Only a fraction of Futaba has reopened. Most who left are never going back, which brings us, finally, to the place they can never let anyone truly live again, and the one Japan spent the longest trying to keep off the record. Before we get to number 1, do me one quick favor and tap that like button. I am just getting this channel off the ground, and it really helps more than you would think. Number 1, a man slips into the black water at night and starts to swim for the mainland. 11 miles, about 18 kilometers, of open sea, because he has decided that drowning is better than one more shift on the island. Many who tried did drown. This is Hashima off Nagasaki, the one everyone calls Gunkanjima, Battleship Island, because from the water the wall of concrete looks like a warship. And of every place I dug into, this is the name that came up in almost every Reddit thread I opened. It was a coal mine, and under the Second World War it ran on forced labor. Conscripted Korean workers and Chinese prisoners were sent 3,000 feet, about 1,000 meters, under the seabed, 12 hours a day, in heat and wet that broke bodies fast. Records put more than 1,400 Korean and 700 Chinese laborers dead on that rock, from the mine, from the conditions, from the sea when they tried to escape it. When the coal ran out in 1974, the company left and the island emptied in weeks. And here is the pattern finishing itself. Okunoshima erased from the map. Futaba sealed off the map. Gunkanjima, they could not hide the island, so they hid what happened on it. Japan had it named a World Heritage Site for its industry, and the people who died in the tunnels were nearly left off the record entirely. You can visit now, a small deck, a guide, a rope you cannot cross. Most of the island is condemned, collapsing into the water it stands in. It is the most photographed ruin in Japan, and almost nobody who takes the picture knows they are standing over a grave. This is the thing I keep coming back to after all of these. None of these places is frightening because of a ghost. They are frightening because they are true, and because a country this careful, this clean, this good at moving forward has this many rooms it has quietly locked and walked away from. A place is only haunted if someone remembers. What actually scares me is the opposite. The map that gets redrawn, the tower that goes up, the name that changes, until the thing that happened has nowhere left to live except a story strangers pass around online. So here is my question for you. When the last person who remembers is gone, is the place still haunted? Tell me below.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that video. Thank you for the video. It was good. What the fuck is that? All right. Moving on, I guess. Let's see. So that was 15 places Reddit Japan told you not to visit, or something like that. Something or the other. It was good. Check out that guy's channel. Seems pretty cool. It's called Hollow Japan and China. And Hollow China, sorry. Good stuff. Lifted link in the description. Check it out. Our next video is going to be basically about games based on true events. There's gonna be a little not as spooky, I don't think, but we're gonna learn a few things. I'm excited for this one myself.
Most disturbing game.
It is by SIRIUS, all caps. Let me drop the link in the description. Come on now. Video number 2 by SIRIUS, all caps. be. Alright, update, and without further ado, let's watch it.
Games follow the same formula. Jump scare, a chase scene, then repeat. But these ones are different because they actually happened. These are disturbing games based on true events. In Town of Light, you play as Renee, a 16-year-old girl exploring the ruins of a long-abandoned psychiatric hospital. She's trying to piece together her own past. Her memories are scattered and fragmented, and as you walk through the empty halls, you'll start to uncover the truth of what really happened. But as you might have guessed, Town of Light isn't just telling Renee's story. It's telling the story of a real place and the people who are locked inside it. This is
Also, this might be a good inspiration to
Volterra Psychiatric Hospital, the real-life location that Town of Light is based on. Unlike most horror games that create fictional settings, this one places you in a world that once existed, a place where real people lived, suffered, and in many cases, never left. Volterra was one of Italy's most well-known asylums. It was built in the late 1800s, during a time when mental illness was widely misunderstood. At its peak, it held over 6,000 patients, a staggering number for a single facility. But Volterra wasn't just a hospital, it was a place of isolation, where people society didn't understand were locked away. Many of the people sent to Volterra weren't exactly what we would consider mentally ill today. Some people were put there for conditions like depression, anxiety, epilepsy, or even something as simple as just being a little bit different from the norm. Women in particular were often institutionalized for being too emotional or difficult to control. Others ended up there simply because their families didn't want them anymore. And once you were admitted, there was very little hope of leaving. Over the years, the hospital developed a reputation for its cruel treatments. Patients were subjected to electroshock therapy, often without anesthesia, and in some cases, doctors performed lobotomies, procedures that left patients in a zombie-like state, while others were simply locked in dark, cramped rooms for days or weeks at a time. One of the most disturbing moments in Town of Light is when Renee recalls being restrained and sedated. This wasn't exaggerated for effect. It was standard practice within the real hospital. Patients who resisted treatment were often tied to their beds for days, injected with high doses of sedatives to keep them docile, or locked in isolation rooms with no explanation. These treatments certainly weren't meant to help, they were more meant to control. Once inside Volterra, leaving was nearly impossible. The very nature of psychiatric commitment laws meant that the patients had no real voice. They were labeled as insane, and anything they said in their defense was dismissed as delusional. Families often relinquished all legal control, leaving the hospital's administrators with absolute power over their lives. Some patients spent decades institutionalized for conditions that modern medicine would very easily treat, while others never left at all. But perhaps the most haunting detail is what happened when Volterra finally closed. In 1978, Italy passed a law shutting down many psychiatric hospitals, including Volterra. But when the doors closed, many patients were left abandoned. They had nowhere to go, no families to return to, as some just took to wandering the streets, being homeless and forgotten. In the Town of Light, you see this desolation firsthand. The game doesn't fill the hospital with ghosts or supernatural creatures. It doesn't really need to. The actual horror lies in what actually happened, what was allowed to happen for decades. In 2010, a German game developer named Jens Stober created a video game that almost no one would think to make. It wasn't about a haunted house or being chased by monsters. It was something much more real. Something still fresh in the minds of those who lived through it. The game was called 1,378 kilometers, named after the exact length of the border that once divided East and West Germany during the Cold War. But this wasn't just a history lesson. To understand why this game caused so much outrage, you need to know that after World War II, Germany was split in half. The western side became a democracy backed by the US, UK, and its allies, while the eastern side became a communist state controlled by the Soviet Union. The problem being was that that life in the East was miserable. The government controlled nearly every aspect of daily life, and people weren't allowed to leave. By the late 1950s, millions had already fled to the West in search of a better life. The solution, according to East German leaders, was simple: build a wall. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was constructed, a deadly barrier stretching across Germany, trapping millions of people inside the communist-controlled East. And it wasn't just a wall, it was a killing zone. Border guards were ordered to shoot anyone who tried to escape, and over the years, hundreds of desperate people were gunned down trying to cross it. Fast forward to 2010, and this is exactly what the game recreated, as you have the option to play as one of these border guards, and your job was to stop defectors from escaping. And stopping them didn't just mean blocking their path, it meant you had the option to shoot them. That was the moment the game crossed the line for many. Survivors of the Berlin Wall era, many of whom had lost family members to the border shootings, were horrified. News outlets called the game disgusting and offensive. Many saw it as an insult to those who had died trying to escape. Chris Geffroy, one of the last people shot while trying to flee to the West, was gunned down at just 20 years old for attempting to escape a life he never chose. Was this game really an educational experience, as the developer claimed, or was it something worse? A simulation of murder wrapped in the excuse of history. The backlash was so strong that just days before its official release, the game was pulled. Jens Stober defended his work, saying that he never meant to glorify violence. Instead, he wanted players to understand the weight of history. But to many, that wasn't enough. With tensions escalating, the game's planned release date, October 3rd, 2010, was supposed to be symbolic. It fell on Germany Unity Day, a national holiday celebrating the reunification of East and West Germany. But instead of serving as a moment of reflection, as the
If you want to tell a story, sure. But if you're giving the player the ability to be a guard killing civilians, that's not a game about learning. That's a game about execution. You're literally having people. No, that's fucked up. That's
the developer would have hoped. The timing only added fuel to the fire. Critics saw it as an insult, almost like a slap in the face to those who had suffered under the Berlin Wall. Jens didn't cancel it entirely, but he postponed its release indefinitely, saying he needed to rethink how it was going to be presented. He insisted that he never meant to offend anyone, and that his goal was to only educate. But many thought the damage had already been done. Even with its eventual quiet release, the controversy never fully faded. Today, 1,378 kilometers remains an obscure game, mostly discussed rather than played. Velvet Assassin is a stealth action game that dropped in 2009, letting players step into the shoes of a World War II spy named Violet Summer. It plays like a typical wartime thriller, sneaking through enemy bases, taking down high-ranking officers, and sabotaging Nazi operations. But what most players might not realize is that Velvet Assassin is directly inspired by a real-life secret agent. But her story is based on Violet Sabo, a British spy who operated in Nazi-occupied France. Sabo wasn't just any soldier, she was part of the Special Operations Executive, or SOE for short. It was a covert British group that sent agents behind enemy lines during World War II. These weren't just standard soldiers, they were saboteurs, intelligence gatherers, and assassins, trained to fight and disrupt the enemy from within. Velvet Assassin places you in similar high-stakes missions, sneaking through dark corridors, hiding in shadows, and eliminating officers with silenced weapons. But what Velvet Assassin doesn't tell you is that the real Violet's story had no Hollywood ending. She didn't have the luxury of a health bar or checkpoints. The game might be inspired by her story, but it leaves out the most chilling details, and what happened to the real spy was far more disturbing than anything you see in game. The real Violet was born in France in 1921, but grew up in London. When World War II broke out, she married a French foreign legionnaire named Etienne Sabo, who later died in battle. His death fueled her determination to fight back against the Nazis, and in 1943, she was picked up by the SOE. Sabo was sent on her first mission to France in April of 1944, just 2 months before the D-Day invasion. Her job was to gather intelligence, coordinate sabotage operations, and arm local resistance fighters. She completed the mission successfully and returned to England, but the fight wasn't quite over yet. Her second mission would be her last. In June of 1944, just after D-Day, Sabo parachuted back into France. Her new mission was to help organize resistance fighters and disrupt German reinforcements moving towards Normandy. But before she could fully complete her objective, she and her team were ambushed by Nazi soldiers at a roadblock near the town of Salon-la-Tour. The Velvet Assassin version of this moment would likely show our spy fighting her way out, escaping into the night. But in reality, Sabo had no such luck. With no way out, she covered for her comrades, holding off the enemy with a Sten gun while they escaped. She fought until she ran out of ammunition, and then she was captured. At first, she was taken to Limos, where she endured brutal interrogations at the hands of the Gestapo. But despite their torture, she refused to give up any information. Instead of breaking, she responded with sarcasm, even mocking her captors. This defiance only made things worse for her. From Limos, she was transferred to Fresnes prison in Paris, where she was held in solitary confinement. Then, in August of 1944, as the Allies pushed further into France, she was sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany. This is where her story took its most tragic turn. Ravensbrück wasn't just a prison, it was a nightmare. A brutal women's concentration camp where thousands were worked to death, tortured, or executed. It was here that Violet Sabo spent months enduring forced labor, starvation, and unimaginable cruelty. Then, in early 1945, just a few months before the war would end, she was taken to an execution site inside the camp. Along with 2 other captured SOE agents, she was forced to kneel and was subsequently shot. She was only 23 years old. The world would only learn what happened to her after the war, when the survivors from the concentration camp told the horrifying truth. The game Velvet Assassin may honor her memory with a fearless protagonist, but it stops short of telling her full story. The Bridge Curse 2, The Extrication, is a horror game based on a Taiwanese urban legend, but that's not why it's in this video. The first game took place at Tonghai University, a real school in Taiwan, where a bridge is said to be cursed by a spirit. According to the legend, if you try to cross it at night, you might find yourself walking in circles, unable to escape. Some say the ghost of a woman appears, trapping those who disturb her. The second game builds on that fear, but this time it introduces something even more unsettling. A mysterious girl, a haunted elevator, and a sense that something unnatural is at play. The game's main character find themselves in a situation that feels terrifyingly familiar. The game's setting is a university, but it doesn't feel like one. The halls are too empty, the shadows move when you aren't looking, and worst of all, you're being watched. The protagonist doesn't know how or why they got here, but they know they need to get out. Players must piece together clues, navigate through dimly lit hallways, and avoid an unseen force that's always lurking nearby. One of the most unnerving parts of the game happens in an elevator. It seems simple at first. You watch a woman through a security camera, waiting for the doors to close and expecting to reach another floor. But things don't seem quite right. The woman moves strangely, jumping out the elevator and clinging to its walls. For some players, this scene was unsettling for a reason they couldn't quite explain. Then it clicked. This wasn't just another horror game trope. It felt eerily similar to something they had seen before. Something real. A security camera recording of a young woman in an elevator, pressing buttons, stepping in and out, and looking as if something was following her. That woman was Elisa Lam, and her story remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries. In February of 2013, the Los Angeles Police Department released a strange surveillance video to the public. It was grainy, taken from an old security camera inside an elevator at the Cecil Hotel. At first glance, it may not seem out of the ordinary, but the longer you watch, the more unsettling it became. Elisa Lam, the woman in the footage, was a 21-year-old student from Canada who had been traveling alone through California. She was supposed to check out the hotel that day, but she never did. Her parents, who had been in constant contact with her, stopped hearing from her entirely. Concerned, they reported her missing, prompting a police investigation. At the time, no one knew what had happened to Elisa. All investigators had was this bizarre elevator footage recorded shortly before she vanished. The video shows Elisa stepping into the elevator and immediately pressing multiple buttons, as if she's unsure where she wants to go. The doors, however, don't close. Seconds pass. She leans out and looks down the hallway, quickly pulling back as if she'd seen something or someone. Then she hesitates, stepping in and out the elevator, glancing nervous.
How little people know about the elevator game. How come nobody knows about the
in
elevator
both
game?
directions. As the
Every
video
time I see footage of people showing this, they don't mention it. The reason why it happened is because she played that game. The whole point. What do you call a cow that is 6 feet under? Hi, buddy. It's been forever. What are you talking about? What do you call a cow that is 6 feet under? 6 feet under. Oh, ground beef. Oh my goodness. It's ground beef.
Continues, her
Oh
behavior
my
becomes
God.
even more disturbing. At one point, she presses herself
ground
against the
beef.
wall as if she's hiding. Her body language suggests panic, but there's
I
no
hate-
visible
like,
threat.
at
Eventually,
least
she
do some
steps out of
research,
view
but it doesn't take
entirely.
long.
The elevator
Ground
doors,
beef.
which had remained open for far too
Ground
long,
beef.
suddenly close.
Ground beef.
But by then, Elisa is no longer inside. The footage ends. The video went viral almost immediately.
the
People were
elevator
disturbed
game.
by how unnatural her behavior seemed, and
ritual,
tons of
dude.
theories began to spread. Some believed she was hiding from someone.
She is hiding from somebody because the legend has it with the elevator game is that at some point a lady walks in and you're not supposed to ask her or look her in the eye. And if you step out or look at her, it's over. You're going to be trapped in limbo, right? At least that's what I heard originally. You're going to be trapped in limbo, you're going to get killed or whatever. It's a bit loud, I can't hear you. Really? Fuck, I didn't know. Here, let me turn it down.
A stalker,
better?
a hotel employee, maybe even an unseen attacker just outside the camera's view.
Can you
Others
hear me
thought
now?
she was under the influence of drugs, experiencing paranoia or hallucinations. But an autopsy later revealed that there were no traces of drugs or alcohol in her system, apart from small traces of her prescribed drugs, as Elisa was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. There was also a more paranormal explanation. The Cecil Hotel had a long and infamous history of murders and sinister
It's not the hotel, it's the
Yes,
games.
including
Well, I guess
serial
the
killers like
hotel
Richard
would've played a
Ramirez.
little
Some
bit
believed
into it.
Elisa wasn't alone in that
little
elevator,
more
that
quiet.
something from the hotel's
little more
dark
quiet.
past had been watching her. Regardless of the theory, the biggest question remained the same. Where
Okay.
did Elisa go after stepping out that elevator?
They
That
found her.
question wouldn't be answered until nearly 3
Yeah,
weeks
he
later,
does
when
talk about
hotel guests began complaining about foul-smelling, discolored water coming from their taps. What
Yep.
happened next would turn this from a missing persons case into one of the most infamous mysteries of all time. As the game progresses, another eerie connection begins to surface: the presence of water. In horror stories, water is often linked to spirits, particularly in Asian folklore, where drowning victims are said to
Perfect,
become
okay.
restless ghosts. In real life, Elisa's body was found in the rooftop water tank of the Cecil Hotel, weeks after she had disappeared. The circumstances of her death
Oh,
were so
boy.
strange that even the authorities still don't understand how she got there. The developers
Yeah,
have never
'cause
confirmed that they were
I think it was found that the water tank and access to the roof was locked. That doesn't mean this is the issue. That just means that somebody freaking locked the shit. Somebody locked her in there. Somebody must have known. Somebody must have found her and hid her up there.
inspired by Elisa's
that's the
case, but the
issue.
similarities are undeniable.
Whether
You
she
start
died
in
to the
middle of
elevator
nowhere,
game or not,
snow-covered mountains stretching as
the
far
bottom
as the
line
eye
is
can
somebody
see. You're in the
would
dark
have known that she was in that water tank. Somebody put her up there.
light is a flickering flashlight and the distant sound of your own footstep. The deeper you go, the more unsettling it feels. The loneliness, the paranoia, the overwhelming sense that you're not alone. This
Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes. Hey, buddy, it's me, your old pal. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing A-okay. I'm trying to smile with my character so you can see the new tweaks I made, but I can't. It's I think it's a little delayed. It's a little more reactive than it used to be.
is Colot, a horror game unlike
Colot.
any other. There are no monsters lurking in the dark, no jump scares every few minutes. Instead, the
Interesting.
terror comes from the emptiness, from the feeling that something
Oh.
terrible happened here and that
I
it
like
could
this.
happen again. But this isn't just another survival horror game. It's based on a real event, one of the
Oh.
most disturbing and mysterious cases in modern history. A story so chilling, so unexplainable, that it has haunted investigators, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for over 60 years. It all started
yeah?
in 1959, when 9 hikers vanished in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. Their bodies were discovered weeks later, scattered across the snow in ways that defied logic. Their tent was found ripped open. Some were found barefoot, half dressed in the freezing cold, with some of their bodies covered in strange injuries, broken bones without external
thought I heard
wounds,
this.
missing eyes, and one of them had a missing tongue, and no one could explain why.
The
The
thing looks
deeper
like
we
some kind
go,
of
the
Yeti.
stranger this mystery becomes. One of Collad's greatest strengths is how accurately it recreates the brutal conditions of the Ural Mountains. In real life, the group was trekking towards a peak called Collat Circle, which translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. The game's title is obviously a direct reference. The game's environment captures the harshness of the terrain too, the deep snowdrifts, the lack of shelter, the eerie silence of the mountains at night. In real life, the hikers had to battle temperatures dropping as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius, and the unpredictable weather likely made survival even more difficult. However, in the game, the landscape is even emptier than in reality. The real Dyatlov group encountered Mansi hunter trails, and there were reports of other expeditions in the area, though none close enough to intervene. The game isolates you completely, amplifying the horror. In Collat, you don't start inside the hiker's tent. You're already out in the cold, left to piece together what happened. But in the real case, the tent itself became one of the biggest mysteries. Rescuers found it still standing, but with a crucial detail. It had been slashed open from the inside, implying that the hikers had been so desperate to escape that they couldn't even have used the tent's entrance. They cut their way out and ran half-dressed into the freezing night. The real horror of the incident lies in how the bodies were discovered. Some were found nearly a mile away from the tent, wearing little clothing, as if they had fled in pure terror. 3 had massive internal injuries, being broken ribs and crushed skulls, but 0 external wounds, leading investigators to compare it to the force of a car crash. One victim, Ludmila Dubinina, was found without her tongue and parts of her face. A few had traces of radiation on their clothes too. In Collat, there's a constant feeling that something is out there watching you, but in reality, no evidence of an attacker, human or otherwise, was ever found. However, the way Collat presents its world mirrors the hiker's disorientated movements. The game forces you to navigate with only a map, compass, and coordinates, obviously similar to the real-life expedition's methods. It's easy to get lost, panic, and end up somewhere you shouldn't be, just like the real hikers. The game leans heavily into the supernatural, hinting at shadowy figures, glowing entities, and forces beyond human understanding. While the real case is surrounded in mystery, most theories focus on natural or man-made explanations. Some believe a small, delayed avalanche forced hikers to flee in panic. However, there was no evidence of an avalanche at the site, and it doesn't explain some of the severe injuries found on some of the bodies. Others suggest the hikers accidentally stumbled upon a secret weapons test. Collat taps into this idea with references to classified Soviet documents and a cover-up. The game isn't a history lesson, it's an experience designed to make you feel the same fear and confusion the hikers might have felt. The landscape is accurate, the sense of isolation and disorientation.
The thing that's putting me on edge about this one is the fact that they found radioactive, residue on their bodies. That's the weirdest part to me, right? That's bizarre. So either they got killed by someone who was covered in radioactive waste or something, and then there's the theories that it was a government cover-up. I mean, that's what the game made it sound like it is, but the real story, they were dismembered and beaten and left to die, but they had radioactive waste on them. That's weird.
Reflects what the hikers likely went through, and the paranoia and dread capture the emotion surrounding the Dyatlov mystery, even if the game's glowing entities are fiction. Collat doesn't try to solve the case, instead it keeps the mystery alive, leaving you wandering the frozen wasteland searching for answers, just like investigators have done for over 60 years.
Crazy stuff.
Every now and then, the game unintentionally mirrors reality in ways that are hard to ignore.
Funny.
This is one such case.
Released in
Granny? 2017, Granny became one of the most memorable horror games of its time. The concept is that you wake up in a rundown house, locked inside by a grey-skinned, hollow-eyed woman. She's old, frail-looking, but don't let that fool you, because Granny patrols the house, reacting to every sound. If you knock over a table, she hears it. If you step on a creaky floorboard, she's already on her way. She moves at an unnatural speed, chasing after you the moment you make a mistake. If she catches you, she knocks you unconscious with her bat. You have 5 days, 5 chances to find your way out before something terrible happens. Though what if something like this actually happened? A real-life case so so eerily similar that I think the game definitely draws inspiration. St. Petersburg, Russia, 2015. An elderly woman is spotted on a security camera, casually walking near her apartment building. Nothing unusual, except for the fact that she's carrying a large plastic bag, a heavy one. A few hours later, police receive a report. A disjointed torso had been found near a pond. No head, no arms, no legs.
Take a look at
Chernobyl. Torso. It doesn't take long for authorities to track down a suspect, and when they knock on her apartment door, they find Tamara Samsonova, a 68-year-old woman sitting calmly in her chair, like nothing had happened. But when police search her apartment, they uncover something out of a nightmare. Dozens of handwritten diaries filled with detailed notes about murder. Casual entries describing how and when she murdered people, as if it were a routine part of her life. They found plastic bags filled with rotten flesh hidden around the building. Some reports even suggest that she may have even eaten parts of her victims. One diary entry dated September 2003 reads, "I killed my tenant Volodya, put the pieces of his body in plastic bags, and threw them away in different parts of Ruzensky district." Another entry from March 2015 details the murder of Valentina Ulanova, a 79-year-old woman she'd been living with at the time of her arrest. Valentina had been her friend, but according to Tamara's diary, she had become too difficult to live with. Tamara's solution to the little problem was to crush a handful of sleeping pills into her food, wait for her to lose consciousness, grab a hacksaw, and I think you can imagine the rest. When questioned by the police, Tamara never showed any remorse. At times she smiled and even laughed when describing what she had done. The media quickly gave her the name the Granny Ripper, a woman who had spent years luring people into her home and making sure they never left. I personally think the similarities between Granny and the Granny Ripper are too bizarre to ignore. Both are old women living alone in decaying homes with something deeply wrong beneath the surface. Both trap people inside their own homes, one trapping victims in the game, the other in real life. The video game Granny keeps a crossbow in her house, a small but crucial tool that players can use to fire tranquilizer darts at her. If you manage to hit her, she collapses and stays unconscious for 2 minutes, giving you a chance to escape. In real life, Tamara Samsonova didn't need a crossbow. She allegedly dosed her victims in much the same way, sedating them so they couldn't fight back. Just like the game's tranquilizer, her method didn't kill immediately. It only made her victims helpless, ensuring they had no chance to run. Then there's the most unsettling part, the unnatural quality they both share. In the game, Granny moves with disturbing speed and aggression, something that you wouldn't expect for someone so old. And yet in real life, Tamara Samsonova was much the same. Despite her age, she carried and disposed of bodies without any help. Unlike most serial killers, Samsonova was never sent to prison. After a psychiatric evaluation, she was declared legally insane and sentenced to an indefinite detention in a high-security psychiatric
I think it's because
hospital.
she believes she did nothing wrong. The Granny, yeah, dude, that's literally what happened. It's insane.
During her trial, she made disturbing comments, at one point begging the judge to let her go so she could continue killing. Her words in court were, "I knew you would come. It's such a disgrace for me. All this publicity. I am guilty and deserve to be punished. I've been preparing for this trial for 10 years. It is all deliberate. There is no way to live. With this last murder, I closed the chapter." She was committed to Kazangyk Psychiatric Hospital in 2015, where she remains to this day.
This is the
You're
way to do
looking
it.
at a digital city from above. The
Believes
streets are filled with people, some just walking around, others moving with purpose. At first glance, everything might seem peaceful, but hidden amongst the crowd are terrorists, figures marked by the game as threats. Your job is very simple: stop them. September 12th, a toy world presents you with one tool, a missile launcher. There's no score, no levels, no game over screen. You just click to fire, and your missile strikes the target. But the explosion doesn't just hit the terrorist, it spreads. Buildings crumble, and worst of all, civilians get caught in the blast. As their tiny figures collapse, the remaining people in the city react. They stop what they're doing, some run away, while others stand still, mourning the loss of those who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then something strange happens. Those mourning civilians begin to change. Their outfits darken, and they transformed into the very thing you are trying to eliminate. More terrorists appear, blending into the crowd. The problem doesn't get smaller, it grows. And the more missiles you launch, the more civilians you lose, and the cycle repeats. At first, it might just feel like you're not playing well enough. Maybe if you time your shots better, aim more carefully, or fire less often, you'll eventually wipe out all the threats. But that's the trick. There is no winning. No matter what you do, the violence continues. Every action you take feeds into the never-ending loop. September 12th isn't a game in the traditional sense. It's more like a simulation, not because it's hyper-realistic, but because it's meant to make you think. It doesn't tell you what's right and wrong. It simply lets you play and watch as the consequences unfold. You might already realize what this game is trying to say. Studies have shown that when civilians are harmed during counter-terrorism operations, it can increase anger towards those responsible. Family members and friends of the deceased may seek revenge, becoming radicalized themselves. This creates a sort of cycle, violence breeding more violence, just like in the game. US military reports from conflicts in the Middle East, particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan, have acknowledged that civilian casualties can have a direct impact on radicalization. One report from the RAND Corporation described how groups like Al-Qaeda use civilian deaths as propaganda, turning public outrage into recruitment opportunities. Leaked military documents and intelligence reports, like the 2012 joint report by Stanford and NYU titled Living Under Drones, highlighted a familiar cycle. For every terrorist killed, civilians caught in the crossfire can fuel resentment, therefore potentially leading to new recruits joining extremist groups. Studies have found that airstrikes, whilst eliminating immediate threats, can sometimes increase long-term radicalization. The same concept plays out in September 12th. Each terrorist you eliminate only leads to more emerging from the grieving crowd. Even the game's name, September 12th, obviously hints at a real-world inspiration. It refers to the day after the Twin Towers was struck, when the United States and its allies faced a critical decision. How should they respond? The invasion of Afghanistan soon followed, marking the beginning of the war.
Russia. Let me tell you, this type of stuff is kind of common in Russia. He told me my grandfather's stories of very gory stuff, and he told me and my cousins those stories. Yeah.
On terror, a war that decades later still impacts global politics. Chernobylite takes place in one of the most unusual and dangerous places on Earth, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. This is an 100 square mile area in northern Ukraine that was evacuated after a major nuclear accident in 1986.
A lot of these take
but
place
to understand
in Russia.
why this area is so significant, you first need to know what happened at Chernobyl. On April 26th, 1986, a routine safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant went horribly wrong. Reactor 4, one of the plant's 4 nuclear reactors, exploded due to a combination of design flaws and human error. The explosion released massive amounts of radiation into the air, contaminating large parts of Ukraine, Belarus, and even reaching other countries in Europe. I probably don't need to tell you that radiation is dangerous because it damages the human body at a microscopic level. In high doses, it can cause severe burns, organ failure, and even death. In the days following the explosion, people in the nearby town of Pripyat, where most of the plant's workers lived, were told nothing was wrong. Many went about their daily lives unaware that they were being exposed to deadly levels of radiation. It wasn't until 36 hours later that authorities finally ordered an evacuation, but by then, it was too late for many. Over the following months and years, thousands of people developed radiation-related illnesses, and a vast area surrounding the plant was deemed too dangerous for human life. Then, the exclusion zone was created, a permanent no-go area stretching for miles around the ruined reactor. All the buildings were left abandoned, nature slowly took over, and time seemed to stand still in the remains of the town. What's even more eerie is that some of the places in the game no longer exist in reality. Over time, many of Chernobyl's buildings have collapsed due to weather, neglect, and radiation damage. In Chernobylite, they remain frozen in time, offering a look into the past that is slowly disappearing.
That is pretty
The exclusion zone may seem like an abandoned wasteland, but it still has life. Over the years, nature has reclaimed much of the area. The small number of self-settlers, people who refuse to leave or later return, continue to live there. Creating a game set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is one thing, but actually going there is another. But for the team behind Chernobylite, accuracy was everything. They didn't just want to imagine what the zone looked like, they wanted to capture it exactly as it is. So instead of relying on old photos or satellite imagery, they went in themselves, bringing with them cutting-edge technology and a mission to recreate the real Chernobyl like never before. To achieve their goal, the developers used 3D photogrammetry, a technique that allows them to scan real-world objects and environments to create incredibly detailed digital models. They walked through the ruins of Pripyat, abandoned villages, and even the remains of the power plant itself, taking thousands of photos from every angle. These images were then processed to build one-to-one digital recreations of actual locations, making Chernobyl like one of the most visually accurate portrayals of the exclusion zone ever made. But this wasn't just about making the game look good, it was about preservation. Some parts of Chernobyl are rapidly deteriorating. By scanning these locations, the developers were able to digitally freeze them in time, allowing players to explore places that may no longer exist in the future. Entering the exclusion zone isn't as simple as just walking in. Radiation levels vary across the area, with some places still dangerously contaminated, while certain parts of the zone have lower radiation levels and are safe for short visits. Others, like the Red Forest, one of the most radioactive areas in the world, can be deadly. The developers had to follow strict safety protocols to avoid exposure. They wore dosimeters, which are devices that measure radiation, to monitor their levels at all times. Some areas were off limits, while others could only be visited for a few minutes before radiation levels became unsafe. Even so, they were able to scan key locations, including the Pripyat amusement park, home to the famous rusted Ferris wheel that never officially opened, and the ruins of Reactor 4, now sealed under a massive steel sarcophagus to contain the radiation. Though one of the biggest challenges wasn't just radiation, it was the feeling of the place itself. Even decades after the disaster, Chernobyl doesn't feel empty. There are obviously no crowds and no bustling streets, but the silence itself feels unnatural. The developers described an eerie atmosphere, and they weren't alone in this feeling. Many visitors to Chernobyl report a similar feeling of a deep sense of unease, especially in areas where people once lived. Fears to Fathom is different. Unlike games that adapt well-known cases or urban legends, Fears to Fathom builds its episodes from real-life accounts submitted by ordinary people. These aren't famous cases from history, and they're not the kind of stories that make national news. Instead, they're personal experiences, moments of terror that people have lived through and have never forgotten. Some of these stories were first posted on forums, Reddit threads, or YouTube channels dedicated to real horror stories, like Mr. Nightmare. The first episode, Home Alone, is the perfect example. The story follows a 14-year-old boy named Miles, left alone for the night while his mother is away. At first, everything seems fine. He follows his usual routine, grabbing food, watching telly, chatting with a friend online.
I've seen people play this game.
Something feels off. A strange figure appears outside. A knock at the door interrupts the silence. Then, Miles receives a text from his mother. Their neighbor, Paula, has just sent her a photo of a man standing outside the house. The message is clear: lock all the doors and wait for the police. At this point, the unease shifts into full-on panic. Suddenly, his own house, the place that should feel most secure, becomes a prison, as danger could be lurking just outside. Or worse, is already inside. As Miles hides under his bed, he hears the sound of a window shattering from the master bedroom.
See you later.
Then the doorbell rings. It's Paula, but something isn't right. Miles is initially hesitant to go to the door, though when he eventually investigates,
I'll play the game
he
a
can
little
see
bit,
the
and then I'll
intruder's
do a
shadow
stream of
near
it,
his parents' bedroom. At
tomorrow
this
or
point,
something.
he knows running is no longer an option. All he can
It'd
do
be
is
a good game to
hide
play
and hope the
tomorrow.
police arrive in time. The story was directly inspired by a submission featured on Mr. Nightmare's channel, where a person recalled a real experience of staying home alone and realizing someone was watching them. 1979 Revolution, Black Friday, developed by Ink Stories, isn't just about playing a character, it's about experiencing history firsthand. You step into the shoes of Reza Shirazi, a young photojournalist returning home to Iran, only to find himself caught in the middle of a revolution. Armed with just a camera, you navigate the streets of Tehran, capturing the protests, the fear, and the violence unfolding around you. But in a world where taking the wrong photo can mean imprisonment or worse, every decision you make carries real weight. The entire game is based on real events from 1978 to 79, and the people of Iran rose up against their ruler, the Shah of Iran. The game's creator, Navid Konsari, isn't just some random developer trying to tell a political story. He actually lived through the Iranian Revolution as a child. His first-hand memories, combined with interviews from over 40 real-life survivors, activists, and former prisoners, help shape the game's brutal realism. Unlike other games based on historical events, Black Friday doesn't just reference the past, it recreates it. What makes it more unique is its gameplay. Instead of combat, the game focuses on choice-based storytelling, similar to Telltale games like The Walking Dead. Dialogue trees force you to make split-second decisions, lie to a soldier and risk it in court, or tell the truth and betray your friends. Every action has consequence, and often there's no right answer. But despite its focus on personal decisions, the game never lets you forget the bigger picture. The world around you is deeply immersive, built on real historical details. Protesters chant slogans that were actually shouted in 1979. Government propaganda plays over radios, echoing the Shah's desperate attempts to maintain control, and the photographs you take in-game are based on real images captured during the revolution, bringing history to life in a way textbooks never could. For many players, this is probably their first real introduction to what happened in Iran, and for others, especially those who lived through it, the game was almost too real. In fact, it was so powerful that the Iranian government outright banned it. But what made it so controversial, and why was this revolution so dangerous to talk about, even decades later? On September 8th, 1978, the streets of Tehran were filled with hope and fear. Thousands of Iranians had gathered in Jaleh Square to protest against the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, demanding the end to his dictatorship. They were unarmed, chanting slogans, holding banners, and standing together in defiance of a government they believed was corrupt and oppressive. What they didn't know was that they were about to walk into a massacre, one that would change the course of history. The Shah had already declared martial law the night before. Public demonstrations had been outlawed, and anyone who defied the ban would be dealt with by force. But the people still came. Protesters filled the square in the early morning hours, believing they had the right to speak out. The Iranian military was already waiting for them. Soldiers blocked the exits surrounding the crowd. Then the order came: open fire. Machine guns tore through the crowd, sending protesters screaming and running in every direction. People collapsed in the streets, bodies piling up as bullets rained down. Witnesses recalled seeing soldiers shooting indiscriminately, gunning down men, women, and even children. Some tried to flee, but the military had already sealed off escape routes, trapping them in a killing zone. Estimates vary, but historians believe between 88 and 300 people were killed that day, with hundreds more injured. The Iranian government initially tried to downplay the violence, claiming only a handful of casualties, but the truth was impossible to hide. Survivors shared their stories, and photojournalists, risking their lives, captured images of the bodies left in the street. This was the moment that changed everything. Up until this point, the revolution had been gaining momentum, but it still felt like there was a chance for reform, a way to negotiate with the government. Black Friday erased that hope. For many Iranians, it was proof that the Shah would rather kill his own people than listen to them. The massacre radicalized the revolution. Protests became larger, angrier, and even more restless. People who had once supported the Shah turned against him overnight. Even members of the military, shaken by what they had been ordered to do, began to defect. In just a few months, the Iranian government would be on the verge of collapse. In 1979 revolution, Black Friday, the horrific event plays out in chilling detail. As Reza Shirazi, the player, is thrown into the middle of the massacre, forced to dodge bullets, capture the chaos with their camera, and witness the horror firsthand. The game doesn't exaggerate what happened. If anything, it tones it down compared to the real thing. But one thing is certain: Black Friday was no accident. The Iranian government saw the protest as a direct threat, and they responded with brute force. Whether it was an international massacre or a desperate act to maintain control, it backfired. Instead of stopping the revolution, it fueled it. Many of the photos taken in the game are based on real historical images, and the game even shows side-by-side comparisons of Reza's photos with their real-life counterparts. Journalists in 1979 were monitored, arrested, and even killed for their work. The game doesn't shy away from showing this reality, forcing players to face the consequences of their choices, just as the photojournalists had to do at the time. One of the most terrifying aspects of 1979 revolution is its depiction of Savak, the Shah's secret police. They are everywhere, watching, listening, waiting for any excuse to detain and interrogate you. And this wasn't an exaggeration. Savak was very real, and it was one of the most feared intelligence agencies of its time. Established with the help of the CIA or Mossad, Savak specialized in surveillance, censorship, and brutal interrogation techniques. Thousands of political prisoners suffered at their hands. The game's depiction of torture, imprisonment, and forced confessions is based on survivor testimonies, some of which describe conditions far worse than what the game allows players to witness. Many Iranians during this time lived in constant fear of being reported to Savak. A casual conversation could be twisted into an act of treason, and once someone was taken in for questioning, there was no guarantee that they would ever be seen again. The game's most haunting sequence is its depiction of Black Friday itself, the day the Iranian soldiers opened fire on the protesters in Jaleh Square. Everything from the layout of the square to the way the crowd moves and reacts was designed to resemble real footage and survivor accounts. The gunfire, fire, the screams, the people running in panic. It was all recreated based on descriptions from those who had been there. The game makes it clear that the player is powerless in this moment. You don't get to change history, you don't get to stop the massacre. All you can do is witness it, just as journalists did in 1978. From the moment the game was released, it was met with widespread praise. Critics called it one of the most powerful and unique historical games ever made. Players who had never learned about the Iranian Revolution were suddenly immersed in its brutal reality. For many, it was an eye-opening experience. But in Iran, the game wasn't just controversial, it was dangerous. The Iranian government didn't take long to respond. Shortly after its release in 2016, 1979 Revolution was officially banned in Iran. The government accused the game of spreading anti-regime propaganda, distorting history, and fueling Western narratives about the revolution. To them, it wasn't a game, it was a direct attack. Iran's National Foundation for Computer Games, the country's top regulatory body for video games, issued a statement condemning 1979 Revolution. They claimed that the game was developed as part of a wider effort to damage the country's image and misrepresent the past. According to them, the revolution was a people's movement, not the chaotic and brutal struggle depicted in the game. The government-controlled media called the game hostile and branded its creator, Navid Konsari, a traitor. The ban wasn't just about protecting the government's version of events, it was part of a much larger pattern of censorship in Iran. Since the revolution, the government has strictly controlled how history is taught and remembered. Certain events like Black Friday are rarely discussed in detail. Stories about human rights abuses under the Shah's rule are well documented, but the darker sides of the revolution itself, the mass executions, the political purges, are often left out of state-approved history. Konsari, the creator of the game, who had worked on massive franchises like GTA, Max Payne, suddenly found himself on the Iranian government's blacklist, and as a result, he has been unable to return to Iran. He expressed concerns about the potential dangers he might face if he were to go back, citing Iran's record of arresting individuals without clear cause, particularly journalists. Konsari has been advised against traveling to Iran due to these risks. And that concludes today's video. If you want something else to watch or listen to, there's a video on screen.
You're kidding me. That's crazy. Oh my lord. That might go into the list too of games we should play. I don't know. It'd be interesting to play it. It only means that I can't visit Iran. Okay. Horrors on GoFundMe. I don't really know exactly what's happening in this video, but it sounded interesting, so we're gonna watch it. Farrell Mcguire. Farrell Mcguire. I said Farrell Mcguire. I don't think Toby's Farrell. I'm sorry. You've heard of Bully Mcguire. Now get ready for Farrell. Farrell Mcguire. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry for that. Farrell Mcguire. Alright, video number 3. Farrell Mcguire. Hopefully I spelled that right. Double L. Alright. There you go. Update. Alright, let's see. This is a documentary production intended for educational, journalistic, and historical purposes. The content examines the real events through research, scripted, and fact-checked reporting in order to inform viewers about systematic failures and significant incidents of public record. Material is presented analytically and without sensationalism. Alright, Farrell, give us something good. Dallas, Texas.
It was a warm October evening in Dallas, Texas. Couple Jennifer and Jamie Faith are out celebrating their 8th wedding anniversary. The pair reminisce about how they originally met on a blind date 15 years prior. Back in those days, they were both living in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Jamie was a technology director for American Airlines, and Jennifer was a speech pathologist. According to their friends, they had bonded fairly quickly over their shared interests, and soon enough, the couple were inseparable.
Okay.
They'd eloped 7 years later in Las Vegas in 2012, and in
So far, so great,
2017,
honestly. This
they'd
sounds fun.
relocate to Dallas after Jamie earned a big promotion. And 3 years after that, they're sitting at dinner reliving all the memories.
Yeah, it gets really loud.
They joke about the
I
love book
lowered
that
it.
Jennifer had made for Valentine's Day a few months prior, one that thanked Jamie for the wonderful life he had given her.
Okay.
Before they knew it, their special day was over, and the next one would launch them right back into their usual routine.
Of course.
They'd wake up early, and at approximately 7:35, they'd take their dog Maggie out for a walk. The couple considered this to be their bonding time. It was how they started their mornings, with this one being yet another perfect duplicate of countless before it. Or at least, that's how it started.
Hey Mia, how you doing?
By 8
Might be playing a
a.m.,
game
police are
here
rushing to
in a
the
little
Oak Cliff
bit.
neighborhood.
I'm just waiting for
They
it to
stop
finish.
outside the Faith's family home, where they're greeted with a bizarre scene. From inside the cruiser, they can already hear hysterical screaming.
Oh Lord.
Once they exit, they see a dog running around wildly in the street. Then they turn to the driveway towards the source of the screams. There, they find a woman lying on the ground, all bound up in duct tape.
What the
It's
fuck?
Jennifer. A few feet in front of her in the street, there's a man lying face down. It's Jamie, and he's not moving. The police call over an ambulance, but the paramedics pronounce him dead on the spot. He's been shot several times.
Whoa.
When Jennifer finally calmed down enough to speak, she told investigators that a masked man had ambushed the couple just moments after they left their house. He immediately raised a gun and shot Jamie at point.
I think I know what happened. I think I know this. I think I know the story. I think if I remember correctly, she did this. She killed him and set up the whole scene.
Blank before knocking her over and binding her hands with duct tape.
This is horrors on GoFundMe. So what's gonna happen is she set up the whole thing, right? She set up the whole thing. Then she's gonna set up a GoFundMe afterwards, asking people for money, for donations, so she can pick herself out of the situation, get herself out of it, right? And it's gonna be a GoFundMe scam. For money, probably. The guy could have been an asshole. Hey, I'm not gonna say this guy wasn't. He could have been a terrible person. He could. You don't know that, right? But she got caught. We'll find out. We'll find out here soon. But
He
I'm
apparently
almost
tried to
certain she
snatch her
set the whole
necklace,
thing
but
up.
fled before he could rip it off once Jennifer started screaming. Considering this was during COVID, somebody wearing a face mask unfortunately wasn't
Sorry.
much of
This was during COVID? What?
an identifying feature, and Jennifer couldn't offer much of a physical description past labeling her attacker as medium built and having black eyes. Over the following days, Jennifer could be seen on TV giving tearful interviews, pleading for people to come forward if they had any information about her husband's murderer. It was a tragic story, and people felt genuinely awful for the new widow. One local who had been particularly touched by the heart-wrenching story had an idea as to how she could help make things a little better.
Then neighbor set it up. A GoFundMe.
She logged onto a website called GoFundMe.com, a crowdfunding platform. You can use this website to collect donations in support of pretty much anything. While many GoFundMe campaigns are centered around financing some new product or creative project, many of them are also launched to support individuals in times of need. And that's exactly what this community member had in mind when she set up a GoFundMe campaign to support Jennifer. It wouldn't take long for the fundraiser to spread around. Within a few weeks, it had raised just over $60,000.
Wow.
The campaign was set up under the funerals and memorials section, and the money was raised with the intentions of helping to pay for funeral expenses and to help Jennifer get back on her feet, as Jamie had been the sole provider for their family at the time of his death.
Got it.
The widow eventually withdrew $58,000 from the campaign,
Wow.
and it's here where things get strange.
Okay.
While she would organize a funeral for her husband, she'd end up leaving the more than $6,000 bill for it unpaid, despite having 10 times that amount in her savings just from the GoFundMe alone. What exactly was she planning on using the money for? Well, it wouldn't take long for investigators to start raising their eyebrows after seeing how Jen was spending her donations. she had bought an expensive large-screen TV,
Whoa.
but not for herself. No, she had it shipped to an address in Tennessee. She also took out 2 new credit cards, both of which she also mailed to the same Tennessee address.
No.
Finally, she started sending numerous Venmo transfers to a man named Darren Lopez.
Whoa.
The police would start learning whatever they could about this man. He was a U.S. Army veteran, one who had fought in Iraq.
U.S.
He had
veteran?
been medically discharged after suffering a traumatic brain injury from a roadside bomb, which would also lead to him developing
God, this is
PTSD.
deeper than I
He
thought.
divorced his wife in 2018 and began living an isolated life in rural Tennessee. The authorities would discover that Darren had indeed known Jennifer. In fact, they had been high school sweethearts.
They were high school
This was a
sweethearts.
suspicious connection,
Oh my
and it
God,
only grew
dude,
more
this
so
is
the closer
crazy.
investigators looked. One detail noted by witnesses at the crime scene was a Nissan Titan that had sped out of the neighborhood shortly after gunshots were heard.
Dude.
It had a large T decal printed on it. The police would manage to get their hands on some aerial surveillance photos of Darren's property, and sure enough, a Nissan Titan sporting a T was parked right next to his house.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
In January 2021, they'd arrest Darren.
He said Deagle. Okay, it's not that funny. I don't know why I find that
The
funny.
investigators even finding the murder weapon stained
that's
with Jamie's blood in his
crazy.
house, along with the credit cards and TV that Jennifer had bought. It was damning evidence, but the case only expanded once they searched through his phone. In March 2020,
find
just
plans,
1 month after Jennifer
plots.
had made her husband a love book thanking him for the wonderful life they shared, she would reconnect with Darren over the internet. Her former boyfriend had made his first ever social media profile specifically with the intention of reconnecting with her. They began texting, which eventually escalated to over 500 messages sent per day between the pair. While on the surface, everything
I thought he
seemed
said
fine
diesel
between
for a
Jennifer and her
second.
husband. She'd start telling Darren that behind the scenes, he had been mistreating her. She'd tell him horrible details of the supposed turmoil she suffered at the hands of her husband, with absolutely wild allegations that I can't even bring up on YouTube. Just trust me when I say it's probably worse than you're expecting. While Darren had once said he saw Jamie as a good guy, his perception would quickly shift as Jennifer continued venting to him. Things would get worse when Jamie supposedly sent the ex-lover a threatening email, complete with explicit photos of Jennifer's injuries. Soon after, Jamie would begin texting Darren similarly threatening messages on a regular basis. By October 2020, Jennifer told Darren that she began to believe her life was in danger. She'd float the idea of shooting her husband, a proposition that Darren enthusiastically accepted.
Congratulations, Mia. I'm so happy.
He'd drive 650 miles down to Dallas and would lay in wait outside the couple's house all night, eventually getting up and pulling out his gun once he saw Jennifer and Jamie walking out the front door with their dog early in the morning. In February 2021, Jennifer would also be arrested, first for obstruction of justice after police found a text message instructing Darren to remove the decal from his car, but a few months later, she'd be indicted on interstate commission for murder for hire, a much more serious federal charge that could potentially
I get it. It's a tough language, all right? I'm not laughing. It's just it sounds silly because every single time it's like first he said dickle, then he said deckle. It's funny. Wait, but then how was she tied up? Okay. She told her ex, her high school sweetheart, that her husband was abusing her. She set up the whole idea of her husband being this abuser and how she's fierce for his life. The ex-lover, being this guy who's like, I'm gonna go there and save you, shows up and ties him up and basically kills him. Well, I guess he's gonna explain the whole thing. I'm pretty sure she set it up to the point where it's like, they're not gonna find you, tie me up too, and leave, right? And so so she could play the victim and play it out as she's a widow, she doesn't know what happened, some random attack, right? She just wanted to get rid of her husband. That's all she wanted to do, so she could be with this guy, her high school sweetheart. This was a whole setup. I'm pretty sure he's gonna explain. I'm almost certain.
Exposed her to the death penalty.
But it's insane.
She'd eventually agree to a plea deal that sentenced her to life in prison. Shockingly, during her plea hearing, she would admit that all the stories she told Lopez about the stomach-churning mistreatment she suffered at the hands of her husband were completely made up.
Exactly.
She had even made fake accounts impersonating him and used him to send those threatening messages with the photos of her injuries being random pictures she found on the internet. The story had now turned from a pair of star-crossed lovers who would kill to be with each other to a woman who had spent months deceiving and emotionally manipulating a disabled veteran suffering from PTSD into becoming a murderer. The judge who ruled over her case would describe her as, quote,
pure evil.
Lopez would be sentenced to 62 years in prison, being eligible for parole after 30. Jennifer, on the other hand, will...
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know, man. That's insane. That's insane. This is, again, not only did she talk to this guy for a long time, over 500 messages per day is crazy. We're talking like insane, right? Then, instead of doing the proper thing and being like, hey, husband, I don't like you anymore, I'm gonna dump you, or whatever the fuck, I don't care, right? Or even just not doing that and going to couples counseling, whatever, right? She does the extreme. She makes up a story about her husband being abusive so she could have this guy come and rescue her, big quotes, rescue her from her abusive husband. She fabricated evidence against him. Fabricated stuff. And decals. What are decals anyways? Decal? Decal? Anywho, bottom line is, it's crazy. And this all happened during COVID, and that's the craziest part. Because this sounds like a story from the early 2000s. No, this happened 2020. I thought, when I heard the story, I thought this was like forever ago. I didn't know this was yesterday.
Spent the rest of her days behind bars in federal prison.
That's insane.
Her GoFundMe campaign would be taken down after her arrest, with her donors surely disgusted with the fact that they willingly handed over their hard-earned money to such a morally bankrupt criminal. Luckily, they were able to request a refund, with GoFundMe generously eating the costs themselves, considering Jennifer had already run off with most of the money. While we don't know all the details of what happened to the funds raised in her campaign, we do know one thing. Jennifer Faith is one of the most evil individuals to ever collect donations on GoFundMe. The keywords there being one of. Everybody knows that crowdfunding platforms are rife with scams and deceitful campaigns of all kinds. After all, anybody can set up a GoFundMe page for just about anything within the terms and conditions. With it being possible to translate people's emotional investment into actual cash, it's not terribly surprising for these platforms to attract plenty of con men. But things get much more disturbing when you get into the darker side of internet crowdfunding crimes. Jennifer's story is unfortunately not a unique one. In fact, her criminal profile almost perfectly matches that of her cruel peers who also had GoFundMe campaigns. They rely on emotional manipulation to do horrible things to others, and also to elicit sympathy from unsuspecting members of their communities. This is a very deceitful brand of criminal, and the stories about disturbing GoFundMe campaigns have a bit of a depressing and enraging edge to them. Especially this next one.
Well, let's take a look.
Once again, our story starts with somebody leaving home to walk the dog. In this case, it's Rudy Farias. He's a 17-year-old living in Houston, Texas, and he yells out to his mom, Janie, to let her know he's leaving. 20 minutes passes, and Rudy should be walking through that front door any minute. But he doesn't. An hour passes, and then several more, but still, Rudy doesn't return. The single mom begins to worry. Eventually, someone does show up at the front door. But it's not Rudy. It's one of the two family dogs he had taken out. It apparently found its way home on its own. The next morning, Janie files a missing persons report with the police.
That's insane.
A nonprofit known as EcuSearch offers to help, and they begin distributing flyers around the local area. They describe Rudy as having a slight limp from an injured leg and also suffering from a couple mental health problems like anxiety and depression.
Oh, poor kid.
2 weeks pass and still, nobody can find Rudy. It's as if he vanished into thin air. Janie decides to launch a GoFundMe to help finance a private search effort for her
She
son.
had something to do
It has an
with it.
oddly lofty goal, $75,000.
Whoa.
Despite the flyers describing Rudy as merely having a minor injury and some common mental health issues, this page describes him as suffering from physical and mental disabilities. She'd then go on to do several media interviews where she tells the public her son is non-verbal and is unable to communicate with others. Weeks would turn to months and months would turn to years. The GoFundMe would slowly rake in more money, but still, there was no sign of Rudy. As others lost hope, his mom Janie remained adamant that he was out there somewhere. And indeed, some signs would eventually pop up that appeared to bolster her resolve. In September 2018, a couple family members contacted the police to tell them that they had spotted Rudy behind a relative's property. Officers searched the location, but unfortunately couldn't find any evidence that anybody had been there. Still though, this could be a reason to be hopeful, and with time, only more would come along. Neighbors would begin sporadically coming forward with reports that they had seen Rudy around the neighborhood, but when the police came to look, they could never actually find any sign of him. It was as if he was a specter haunting the street he vanished on. That's not how Janie saw it though. She seemed to remain hopeful that her son was still out there waiting to be found, and she continued to collect money at GoFundMe to help keep the search effort going. This is more or less how things would play out for the following few years, at least until 2023. In June of that year, the police would receive a 911 call reporting an unresponsive man found lying on the ground outside a church in southeast Houston. They rush over and sure enough, they discover an unconscious man covered in cuts and bruises. They took note of the necklace he was wearing. It looked familiar. Where had they seen it before? It wouldn't take them long to figure out where it came from. The man was quickly identified as none other than Rudy Farias. The police call his mom and she rushes over to the scene, elated to finally see her son again after 8 years. An ambulance is called and emergency responders begin evaluating the formerly missing man. But this is where things get weird. Janie starts acting strangely when the ambulance arrives. She tells the police that she doesn't want her son to be taken to the hospital, and she takes him home herself. News breaks out of Rudy's return, and Janie describes the event as a miracle. A non-verbal, vulnerable boy turned adult survived on his own for 8 years and then found his way back home to his family. While Janie put on a celebratory face, others were a little skeptical of the whole situation.
She kept him.
The police begin questioning neighbors more closely.
He had escaped.
The reports of Rudy having been around the neighborhood weren't just random Bigfoot-esque sightings. Some of them had even interacted with him. One of them told the police that Rudy regularly visited their house to spend time with their children, stating, quote,
That boy has never been missing.
The more they dug, the worse the situation began to appear. They found that Jenny had had several run-ins with the police where she had been with a young adult that physically resembled Rudy. The man would identify himself by a different name each time, and Jenny would tell the officers that he was her nephew. In reality though, it had been Rudy all along.
Whoa.
His mama coached him to misidentify himself to officers, telling him that if he didn't, he would be arrested and thrown in jail. Police and other organizations would scramble to arrange interviews with Rudy after his return, and to their surprise, he wasn't nonverbal. He had no problems whatsoever speaking with them. One of the first people to interview Rudy was Quanell X, a civil rights activist and leader of the new Black Panther Party. Shortly after they finished speaking, he'd end up having to report what he heard to the police. He alleged that the missing man had disclosed some very disturbing details about his life during his disappearance, stating that Janie had allegedly drugged him on multiple occasions and coerced him to quote-unquote play daddy. That's about all I can say on YouTube.
Fuck?
I'll leave the
No fucking way, dude. No way. She drew. That's her own son, dude. That's insane.
the rest to your imagination. Quanell X is a controversial figure, with some in his community even going as far as to label him an outright fraud, so it's important to take these allegations with a healthy dose of skepticism. When Rudy spoke with the police directly, he wouldn't mention any of the details put forth by Quanell X. What he would tell them is that he had actually returned home on March 8th, 2015, less than 24 hours after he had left to walk the dogs. His mom had already reported him as missing, but she failed to inform the police of her son's return. She'd only worked to keep the lie going and began to hide Rudy from the world.
Pause. It seems that she had... The boy did go missing at first. She did go missing at first. He did. She reported him missing, and instead of reporting to the police that he was found, she kept the lie going. She kept the lie going. Because...
manipulating the young adult by telling him he'd be arrested by the police if he were to ever come forward. She'd been exaggerating the details of her son's mental and physical illness to the public, with a shy teenager turning into a vulnerable, nonverbal adult within the span of just a few weeks. A month after his return, Rudy would give his first public interview with the media. He'd state that his mom had brainwashed him, and he essentially remained confined to their family home for the majority of his 8 years missing. He denied the serious allegations put forth by Quanell X, but would state that Janie did sometimes make him sleep in her bed with her, alleging that she regularly crossed personal boundaries with him. He'd state that she'd make him help her with her day job, forcing him to work for up to 12 hours at a time, and only paid him $60 a day for doing so.
Wow.
Shockingly, Janie would never be charged with a crime here, despite having maintained a false police report and given multiple false identities to the police. The authorities would close this out by stating, "It's not a crime to be missing," and that Rudy was a legal adult for the vast majority of his time in captivity. In terms of motivation, many people do believe that Janie had hoped to financially profit from the GoFundMe campaign she had started, which was likely why the funding goal was so unusually high for the circumstances. She would end up making a few $1,000s from it, but GoFundMe would take down her campaign and even permanently ban her from the platform after news broke out of Rudy's return.
So,
Let's be clear though, finances are just one aspect of this case. The bigger overall picture points to a pattern of abuse that escalated into a mother manipulating her son to be a prisoner.
For the abuse?
You might think it's strange that police didn't lay any charges here, but that decision would have ultimately been left to Rudy. And it's possible he might have just wanted to leave this whole situation behind him. The last we've heard, Rudy has cut off all contact with his mother and just wants to live a normal life. While we're likely never going to learn the full details of this case, I do think we can say one thing. Janie didn't just manipulate her son, but she attempted to deceive the public as well, falsely stating that Rudy was missing and lying about his mental and physical health in order to elicit donations on her GoFundMe campaign. In fact, this wasn't even the only campaign that Janie had set up for her son. Before he even disappeared, she had supposedly set up a different campaign, one where she alleged that Rudy was suffering from cancer and needed money for his treatment. Supposedly that one was deleted right before Janie made the page to fund Rudy's search effort. Financial gain from crowdfunding is an aspect that ties both of the cases we've looked at today, but there are other ways criminals can make use of GoFundMe. Herbert Sweely and Timothy Smith were a popular and well-liked couple. Living in Ocala, Florida, they were quite active in their local gay community, with 59-year-old Timothy in particular being known as somewhat of a social...
Yeah, apparently he cut all ties with her. He seems to just want to live a normal life now, which I guess that's okay. You know, he doesn't want to deal with it anymore, and I get it. I mean, his mother did terrible things to him. Insane stuff. Just crazy. I think this might be the last story in this video. Let's see.
Staple in community events. He was the executive director of Brookdale Schombrel Pine Castle, an assisted living and memory care community. In his spare time, he was a local activist, being involved with Ocala's Walk to End Alzheimer's, Marion County's Continuity of Care, and the annual Festival of Trees. Friends described him as warm and outgoing, never failing to be the life of the party. They say opposites attract, and that can be easily seen by looking at Timothy's husband Herbert, who he'd been married to for 8 years. He was a 55-year-old handyman who tended to mostly take on odd jobs here and there. Friends described him as cold and rough, stating that he was an unusually unemotional person. He had an adult daughter from a previous relationship, and the three all lived together in Ocala. Timothy, though, had a second residence, an apartment. You see, the couple had an open relationship, and they'd used this residence for intimate encounters with other men that they'd meet on social media. This was a secretive aspect of their life, and we only even know about the second apartment because of what would eventually be discovered there. In March 2023, Timothy would fail to show up for work, which would prompt Herbert to call 911. After a short investigation, police would discover Timothy's second apartment and manage to borrow a key from his landlord. They'd head over to the building and make their way up to the door of the unit, cautiously opening it and going inside. There, they'd find Timothy Smith, all sprawled out on the floor. He had clear physical trauma to his face and neck, and detectives noticed a strong smell of chemical cleaning fluids as well. It was obvious he was dead. Herbert would appear to be publicly devastated by the news. He'd make a tearful Facebook post and would launch a GoFundMe campaign to gather donations to fund a celebration of life. From an outside perspective, it seemed like Herbert...
I'll have to go a little bit. I'll be back in 2 hours, but you might already stop streaming. But yeah, I'm probably gonna be done by then. I'm just gonna be watching one more video, which is 28 minutes, and I'll play a little bit of the game. So I might stream for another hour or so. So maybe, depending on how you come back, you might still catch me. But for now,
Herbert was a heartbroken husband suffering from the immense grief that comes along with the loss of a partner.
Good see you for now, Mia.
But behind the scenes, police were forming a bit of a different opinion.
What's that?
A family friend would report that they saw Herbert disposing of many of Timothy's belongings in the days following his death, including clothes and framed family photos. They also told police they overheard Herbert complaining that he had to hurry to clean Timothy's car before investigators could get to it. In the same week he launched a GoFundMe campaign, police would officially label Herbert as a suspect in his husband's death. They'd start to request follow-up interviews, but the 55-year-old was uncooperative, indicating that he would only speak further if granted total immunity in the case, something the police obviously weren't planning to offer him. In August, they'd publicly name him as a suspect, and he'd eventually be charged with first-degree murder a few months later in November. It would take 2 years for him to stand trial, but when he finally did in September 2025, we'd learn the whole story for the first time. You see, Herbert and Timothy had been having some problems in their marriage. Timothy had been pulling away from his husband, even going as far as to pursue job opportunities in other cities. This greatly spooked Herbert, who almost fully relied on his partner to fund their luxurious lifestyle. Timothy did, however, carry life insurance, and Herbert stood to gain more than $300,000 if he were to suddenly pass away. And on March 23, 2023, he took matters into his own hands. He gave Timothy a massive dose of Benadryl, an entire bottle, and proceeded to strangle him as he was dozing off from the medication. He then took his body to the second apartment and staged a scene to make it look like an intimate encounter gone wrong with some anonymous partner from the internet. From there, he tried his best to play the part of the grieving husband. He made sad social media posts, vented to friends and family, and even set up a GoFundMe campaign to fund a funeral, one that he never actually withdrew the funds out of. This fundraiser was simply a piece of a cover story, but one that failed to do its job after police actually began digging into the details of this case. Herbert Sweatley was sentenced to life after a brief trial. He's currently in the Florida prison system, and he'll never have the possibility of parole. Like I said earlier, GoFundMe is a place where people can convert public sympathy into cold hard cash. And one could argue that it plays an important role in a country like the USA, where it's normal for people to get saddled with hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars of bills after experiencing some unforeseen medical emergency. It's become a crutch in a flawed system, one that's helped countless people get through the hardest parts of their lives. But it's also one that can be turned on its head to allow criminals to produce money from their crimes in a way they never would have previously been able to before the internet. That's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, definitely don't subscribe. Yeah, don't subscribe. You don't want to see more videos like this one, I'm sure.
Don't
so
subscribe.
Definitely do not hit that subscribe button, whatever you do. I'm watching you, so you better not do it.
You creepo.
And of course,
you trying to stalk
have
me?
a good night.
Yeah, he should stay in jail. Fuck that guy. Holy shit, dude. I feel sad for him, for not the guy that did the murdering, his husband, I mean. The guy that got killed. But I also feel terribly bad for the daughter, dude. What the hell? That's insane, dude. Alright, the last video we're going to be watching today is going to be this one. 10 scary videos people wish they had never seen. I'm going to leave the description. This is Hunted Creeps. We already watched the video by Hunted Creeps already. Last stream. The reverse psychology. Yeah. Yeah. Here, let me see. Can I? Yeah, there it is. Video number 4. Haunted Creeps. And here's the link. Date. Alright. Without further ado, let's get into it. I would like to play that game. Spoopy time.
A small content creator decided to explore an old abandoned building that had been closed for decades. He and his friends entered with cameras, expecting nothing more than a normal exploration. But deeper inside, they noticed a strange covered section, like someone had tried to block it off. Curious, he moved closer and looked inside. Then something stranger happened. Take a look.
Yeah. No, yeah. This they encountered a homeless person. That's why they were screaming. They were trying to scare him away.
Suddenly, a loud, chilling scream echoed through the building. Terrified, they ran out as fast as they could. After that night, he never returned. Before we jump into the next video,
that's
don't forget
definitely
to subscribe.
they encountered a homeless person. I don't think he goes into detail with that, but that's definitely what that was. Oftentimes, there's usually videos like that. I don't know if it's the same encounter, but I saw a POV where the guy walks into a place and he walks behind a curtain that's propped up, and he records the guy. There's a guy kind of hiding off to the corner, and they both scream because they get scared of each other. This guy's living there in an abandoned building. That's one thing you're gonna encounter. There's a high chance you're gonna encounter a homeless person living in an abandoned place. Yeah, in this case, he obviously, he sounded like Tasmanian Devil. He tried to scare them before he encountered them. He doesn't know if they're dangerous. You know, you don't know if the homeless person is dangerous, and vice versa. You don't know these people. No, they don't know each other. So it's like it's a very real situation where chances are you might find a homeless person living there, and it's dangerous for both parties. It could go either or. Urban exploration, it's gonna be tough. Watch till the end.
A man known as Magical Poltergeist regularly posts paranormal content on his TikTok page. In one of his recent videos, something happened that might genuinely shock you. While he was in his kitchen cleaning plates, he had his camera recording. And that's when something unusual occurred. Take a look.
The Grim Reaper?
So the reason I want to make this video is because I have been dealing with a lot. I want to give you guys an update, but I have been dealing with a lot of whining at nighttime. Now there's one thing that I have been very concerned, and I don't know if it's normal or not, and I want you guys to drop.
This is my thing with this video right here. He's doing the dishes, and he's making a video, obviously to talk about what's happening to him. When you make a video like that, typically you want to set the camera closer to you, because we don't need to know all the information of what's happening in the background. We only need to know what you're saying. So why did he not prop the phone right by his face? Prop the phone on the table behind him. Instead, he props the phone across the room, conveniently capturing the hallway and the kitchen, right? So we have a full clear view of another section of the house that we have no reason to be looking down at, right? I bet you whatever's gonna happen is gonna be down that hall. I'm almost certain whatever's gonna be the spooky is gonna happen down that hall.
Put in the comments and let me know if there's something.
Let's see. Let's take a look.
That you think it's normal.
And then,
But
not to mention, he's
at
also
nighttime,
explaining
for
how,
some
oh, I'm
reason,
dealing
I
with
have
this
been,
thing, and blah, blah,
like,
blah, blah.
supposedly, my ex-wife, Elizabeth, supposedly she's been calling me at nighttime. But like literally inside of my house. And I have, like, when I wake up at nighttime, I hear that my daughter, Amora, is like on my office. And then I check, but there's literally nobody. Literally nobody
Like
in my house.
Like a doppelganger?
Now, I don't know if
Like a
when I
mimic?
go to sleep, if this is sleep paralysis, or I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure what it is. Or
I
what
think what's
could it
funny
have
is that
caused,
light scared the shit out of me. There was like
so
a
if I'm
passing
actually
light,
like,
probably like a car.
it's very hard for me to explain, but it almost feels like I'm having a dream, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, see,
So,
come
but I
on,
went to
come on.
sleep, if that makes sense. You know what I
Dude! That's literally him! That's literally him! That's the exact same shape of him. He made a recording of himself sneaking by. I want to see the raw footage of him walking from one room to the other, hunched over, like deep tiptoeing. Sneaky, sneaky. He goes, sneaky, sneaky. You can't see me. I'm crying. Dude, the girls have the cap on too. I didn't see the cap. But tell me that is not his perfect silhouette.
It almost feels like I'm having a dream, if that makes sense.
Look at the little legs. They go tiki tiki tiki. Tiki. Here. Wait for the zoom so you can look at the legs real quick so you can see.
Explain, but it almost feels like I'm having a dream, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, but I want you to dream, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, but I want you guys to drop it on the comment.
That's literally him.
Holy fuck!
What? What? What did he scream that? Whee!
Guys, tell me.
Tell me.
That sounded like my bathroom.
Okay. Tiki tiki.
Tell me I'm not
My goodness.
fucking going crazy. Am I fucking going
The
insane or
acting
what?
is peak. You can tell he's trying so hard to look
You see?
serious.
This
He
is why
does
I
not
hate
look serious
being-
at
I
all.
really hate this shit.
You can clearly see a shadow moving.
Tiki tiki tiki. I'm trying to see if that's the hat. It'd be really funny if this is the hat, like right there. But that's definitely him, dude. That's
And as
so
it enters
him.
another room, a strange sound is heard.
Oh
The
my
man
goodness.
then decides to go and check. But when he gets there, no one is present. So what do you think? Was it a spirit or something else?
Tiki, tiki, tiki.
One evening, a man was alone at
man.
home when he noticed something
that was funny
unusual
as hell.
through the glass panel of his front door. Take a look.
My brother's calling me right now. Oh, I seen this one. This one is spooky, but it could also be fake. I think we've seen this one before in another clip. Oscar for the actor. Oh yeah, at least 10. Meryl Streep, never heard of her. Not now. Do a stream, brother. Call you after.
Standing outside was a dark, human-like silhouette, completely still, almost
This
like it
one's
was
a
watching
this one's
him.
a good one.
Confused but curious,
This one's
he
an
slowly
interesting one.
walked
I would
closer
agree
and
this one's a
decided
cool
to
one.
open the door. But the moment he did, there was no one there. Thinking it might
If
be
it's an
someone
edit,
hiding
it's a good
nearby,
edit.
he checked around the porch and street,
Disney said-
but everything was empty. What made things even stranger
gotta
was
stop.
his security system. He had cameras installed around the house, yet during the exact moment the figure appeared, the footage either froze or failed to record properly. Just
Instant
watch.
legend.
In front of our house where somebody
He sent me a
could be.
message.
For them
I'll
to
listen
run,
it
where
later.
would
It's
they
an
have
audio
to hide?
message.
It goes straight out, guts out. This way, another commercial building, it juts out. They would also have to jump down into this drop of a fence and go that way.
Okay.
All out front, the most someone could have done would have maybe been behind a tree, but we would still have got that on the Ring camera. Also, another Ring camera that would have caught somebody too.
Coincidence?
Right, okay,
Or
yeah,
something
because
far more disturbing?
He plays the
What do
thing
you
from the
think?
Ring camera.
A security guard was working the night shift in a hospital when something unsettling happened. Out of nowhere, he heard a
wouldn't be
strange
on this
noise
video
coming
if
from the
something
surgery
unsettling
room.
didn't happen.
Since he was completely alone, he decided to turn on his camera and go check it out. Take a look.
Okay, I can't hear it because of all the stupid freaking music in the background. Why? Or the sound. They overlay eerie music in the background to try and make it spookier, but that's just annoying. Mira, un peo en slow motion. That's what that was. Mira, otro peito. Qué trompeta. Oh my god. Ay, tengo miedo. Se mueven las cosas. Ay, no. Alright, what's next? Give me some. Give me some. The thing that was behind me. Then I stopped recording. Started moving again. It made noise. Oh no.
Para que vean que no hay nadie aquí.
There's nobody.
As he slowly entered the room, everything seemed normal at first. But then
I might give
suddenly,
you this
an
one. This
object
one's
placed
like a
on the
little,
operating table
okay.
fell to the ground on its own.
But everything else
there
was
was
just
no one
extra.
around. No visible cause. A few moments later, things got even more disturbing.
I don't know.
The cabinet in
I'm always very like skeptical about stuff like this. Like it's like a few things started falling. Gravity, you know, it's a thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna go ahead and say it's like an 18th century ghost or some kind of vengeful spirit. You know, it's gravity. It's what it does.
in front of him began
It
to
do what it
move
do.
by itself.
It knocked things over. Make things
Investigate a
fall.
restaurant after several locals claimed
Boring.
the place was haunted.
Just boring.
Curious to
What's
find
next?
out the truth, he turned on his camera and headed inside to document
As one
everything.
does, obviously.
What happened
You get
next
freaked out,
is
you
something
get
you'll want to
camera.
watch closely.
Buenas noches, la plaza ya se cerró. ¿Hay alguien aquí?
Sí, detrás de ti.
Buenas noches.
That looks creepy. Whatever this is looks like a weird man standing there.
Ya se
Let me
cerró la
guess,
plaza,
knocking?
joven.
Can't wait for knocking. Is it knocking?
Buenas noches.
Come on, give me a knock. I need a knock or random sound. It's either a knock or random sound. What? I called it. Whoa. Oh. Okay.
Buenas noches, ya se cerró.
Oh my god, that's horrifying, dude. That's like a little kid.
¿Hay algún niño aquí?
I take it back. That shit, that's scary.
Buenas noches.
I take that shit back. I'm walking away. I'm going back to wherever I came from. That is, I'm not saying around for that. Honestly, how is he so nonchalant
A
about
chilling
that?
sound echoed through the empty space.
How is he so nonchalant?
It sounded like a little girl
It sounded.
screaming.
It's exactly.
The man instantly froze.
Not just screaming,
The
horrified.
place was supposed to be completely empty with no
Terrified.
one living or working there. Trying to stay calm, he began checking every corner
Trying he
of the
was.
restaurant,
That dude was
but no one
chill
was
as a
there.
cucumber. Just
No
like,
footsteps, no
we're
movement.
closed.
Just silent.
He literally, the next line was, we're closed. This guy. He hears a bone chilling, like skin. Your skin would be crawling, like fucking screech. This person is feeling actual fear, and his reaction is, "We're closed."
At that point, fear took over. Not knowing what or who made that sound, the man decided to stop the investigation and leave immediately. So what do you think? Was it just a strange coincidence, or was something else
Did
really
he leave
there?
though, or did he just casually just say, "Eh, must have been the wind"?
A young
It was
graphic
definitely coming
designer
from
had
that way,
recently
though.
started his own clothing brand and rented a small workshop
It says
to
they
store
wake
his
up at
inventory.
3 a.m. every
While
night.
setting things
That's
up, he found a few old mannequins near a dumpster
witching hour.
and decided to reuse them instead of buying new ones. At first, everything seemed normal until strange things began to happen. One night around 3 a.m., unable to ignore it anymore, he picked up his phone and started recording. Take a look.
Así que nada, voy a ver
These ones are always so
qué
silly.
carajo. La verdad nunca me levanté hasta ahora.
Whenever someone wakes up out of bed and their instinct immediately is to grab their phone and start recording, I'm like, I'm skeptical already. I'm skeptical already. Because it's not my automatic reaction to be like, I heard a noise, let me get my phone and start recording. That's not my automatic reaction is like, what the fuck is happening? I gotta find out what's happening. I'm not gonna go for my phone immediately. I'm going for the light immediately before I go for my phone. I'm turning on the light. I'm finding out what the hell's happening.
No.
What is that? Well, what is that? Pause. Did that look like a face in the mirror? Is that a mirror or a picture? What is that? Okay, that looks like a face in a mirror. This looks like someone's hunched over kind of looking at him. Also, again, if you're gonna get up and make a video and make it look spooky, suspense is everything. Why are you gonna get up and immediately be like, it's right there? Not realistic.
No.
And he goes, no. Turn on the light, start screaming at it, get a weapon. What are you doing? You're just standing there watching it. If it was an intruder, you would be dead right now. It's a mannequin? How do you know it's a mannequin? How do you know it's a mannequin? How do you know it's a mannequin? Huh? How do you know it's a mannequin? Where's your weapon? This person is either really dumb at making horror content or just really, really stupid. Really, really stupid in survival instinct.
Qué hija de puta, boludo. No te la puedo creer. Y escuchas un ratito la...
You see that, and you go check your clothing line? Get out of here, brother. What are you doing?
Como si estuvieran revisando la ropa, boludo.
Get out of here.
Get
out of here, dude. He's just plugging in his brand. Look at how fresh these are.
For a brief second, something appeared to peek from behind a corner.
Look at how fresh
and then
these
vanished.
are, eh?
Trying to stay calm, he stepped inside. Then something disturbing happened.
Also, let's not forget that he did the cutaway cut thing, right? So let me point it out. There she is. The mannequin, as he claims, is the mannequin, right? Long hair. This is obviously some girl, probably a friend, or just him in a wig. That job, PTSD. He right here, turns it to pure blackness. That's why he never turned on the light. You see? He never turned on the light, so it's easier to edit because he's gonna cut straight to black so that he can splice the footage together while she's going away from that spot so he can go record that section. This is where the clip happens. The cut happened right here. Pure black. We just got back. Like, it's not even clever. It's not even good. Because of how much, like, just pure black we had there for so long. Right here. Pixels there. Pixels gone. Pure black. We're stuck here 3 seconds. Boom. You see that? Immediate cut to this oval shape with pixels. You see that? That's editing. Done. Debunked. Really shit. And he's only doing this. Why? He tells you immediately why. He's showing off all these shirts, all these jackets, and he starts shifting through the, like, oh, look at this. He's literally showing you the designs of the shirts. Going shirt by shirt, like, look at this shirt. Look at that shirt. This is the longest advertisement hidden in a ghost video. And the mannequin turning.
For a brief second, something appeared to peek from behind a corner and then vanished.
He also put the mannequin in a mask for some reason, because why the hell not? Oh, here's another video. He's making the shirts. Is the mannequin gonna move? God, I hope it's a mannequin. Oh, the hot glue gun. Oh, okay. Hot glue. Okay. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. It really does. It really speaks for itself. Oh my god. And he didn't realize it. He didn't hear any of that. The gun falling, the heat gun falling, the mannequin rocking, moving, every shirt individually getting plucked and dropped, like, hello?
Bueno, esto parece que se rompió. No sé quién habrá sido.
Did you hear the lady?
Y toda la ropa en el
That's
piso.
the lady from the video.
Esto es una locura.
You see the shirts I made? Really cool, huh? Look, one by one. Look at this one. You like the shirt? It's pretty cool. You should buy it.
Hours later, the footage showed the same mannequin slowly changing its position on its own. Clothes began falling off racks. Strange knocking sounds coming from inside his house.
That's
not loud,
I'm done.
but
I'm
clear
done with
enough
that.
to make him
That's
feel
all
like
silly.
something wasn't right. So one night,
Not gonna lie,
he
those
decides
shirts
to
look pretty
record
cool.
everything and figure
He
out
want
what's
me, he want
actually
me.
going on.
Those
At first,
shirts look
nothing
pretty cool.
unusual happens. The house looks completely normal. But if you listen closely, you can hear faint knocking sounds in the
marketing
background.
work.
Take a look.
God damn it. He might be smarter than I give him credit. And I just gave him free advertisements right there. You're welcome. Check out that guy's store, guys. Clever bastard.
He even pauses for a moment, trying to locate where it's coming from. But then things take a disturbing turn.
Yes, the heavy breathing. It's like I'm watching one of my streams. I'll pay you extra if you knock. Oh man. Trust me, bro. The knocking, don't know where it came from. Eerie sound. That's not like something getting dragged, like a zipper opening or like Velcro being ripped. I don't fucking know.
Out of nowhere, a strange noise can be heard from outside, something that doesn't sound human at all. And just seconds later, a door inside the house suddenly slams shut by itself.
That was
no one is
slamming?
seen nearby. No explanation. That's the moment
Not
he
free
completely
grippers on the
panics
internet, though.
and runs away to hide. Now the real question is, was this just fear playing tricks on him? Or was something actually inside the house?
No, it's trust me, bro. It's always trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I don't know where that sound came from. Trust
A
me, bro.
man once visited a
Trust
city
me.
for a short trip. While exploring, he heard about an abandoned school there where people claimed disturbing sounds could be heard at night. Curious, he decided to investigate it himself. He took his camera and went to the location to find out.
He's gonna go from one classroom to the other, or from this classroom to out in the hall. And when he comes back, all of the desks are gonna be either pushed to a corner, or all moved around, or all stacked on top of each other. Watch. Watch. I'm calling it right here, right now. Alright? Either they're gonna be moved around, or they're gonna be pushed to a corner, or they're gonna be stacked on top of each other.
The truth.
Watch.
What happened next?
Watch.
Take a look.
No salen a las 2, solo que yo me quedé pues, un poquito más de tiempo. Son 2:37, ¿sí? Ya casi se me acaba la batería.
2019.
Estaba haciendo un reporte que necesito entregar, ¿sí? A la escuela. Pero bueno, yo tengo algunas reglas para que los alumnos puedan salir a la hora o poquito antes. Estamos hablando de 3-5 minutos. Es que tienen que acomodar las bancas, ¿sí? Todas, aunque no estén como que muy derechas, pero sí que tienen que estar las filas en orden. Entonces, por ejemplo, así siempre las dejamos, y estas de esta forma, pues siempre dejamos un pasillo cuando la puerta se abre y puedan pasar de mejor manera a las siguientes filas. ¿Okay? Lo que se me hace extraño es que se movió una banca. Ahorita se las muestro más de cerca, pero es que yo estoy solo, ¿no? No hay nadie, estoy yo solo. A ver si ahí me veo un poquito en el talón, pero no hay nadie, ¿sí? Estoy completamente solo. Entonces se movió esta banca sola. Yo creo que fue el viento, porque no, la verdad no.
Must have been the wind.
Para mí eso no existe, nada de eso de los fantasmas. Bueno, al menos yo no creo un rumor que supuestamente la escuela se fue hecha después de que un orfanato aquí se quemó.
Okay.
Sí, al parecer los valores no se han perdido entre los alumnos. Pero pues
he
eso
literally
son
said the school was built after an
mitos,
orphanage
¿verdad?
burned down. Just casual, you know.
Esa
Very
banca
loud.
estaba así y luego se movió.
Okay.
¿Sale? Entonces
I heard it. I heard the
fue algo
motherfucker.
bastante extraño y se me hizo interesante.
Please have them all do it.
Yo creo que saben que mejor yo sí ya me voy.
Please, all the chairs, do it. Come on. I know it's gonna happen. All the chairs.
Güey, es que
Come on.
se acaba de mover esa banca también. ¿Qué pedo? No mames. No, ya.
Suddenly, one chair started moving on its own. Even after seeing this, he continued his investigation. But then, all the chairs in the room began to move violently by themselves. Witnessing this,
Did they,
the
though?
man got terrified and decided it was best to stop the investigation. If you were in his place, what would you have done?
I don't know, man. That one's silly. That one's really silly.
In this clip, a man named Alberto, who runs a small tattoo setup inside his house, starts experiencing some really strange activity, especially in that room. At first, everything looks normal, but watch closely.
A darle. Vente, a mi esposa. La neta, ya me soy bien culo, la neta. Ya ni quisiera. ¿Hay alguien ahí? ¿Hay alguien ahí? No mames, no mames.
One of these days, someone's gonna ask the same question: is anyone there? Who's there? And they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's just me." I wish someday someone would make a video where the ghost just says, "Yeah, dude, you got me. I'm here. Ghosts are real."
Mames, ¿ya viste,
I really want one day for that to
¿Hay
be
alguien ahí?
the case.
Espérate.
There's someone here? Yeah,
Espérate.
dude, it's just me. Ghosts are real, brother. You got me.
Hey. Ay,
That'd be
cabrón.
the chillest ghost
Lupita,
ever.
hasta para allá, Lupita.
You got me, man. They found us, bro. They found us.
Pues no hay alguien aquí, hija.
They found us,
Cabrón.
bro. Come on out. Oh, man.
Su puta no, man. Vámonos para
I
allá.
still had a few centuries in me.
Yo creo si lo voy a meter.
I'm sorry, huh? Why does that say culo? Oh, he's locked. That's over.
Con seguro.
What kind of gap is that? What is your big ass gap?
Las llaves, las llaves, las llaves, las llaves, las llaves.
Oh, now you think of the key. So you're telling me you could have just locked yourself in there?
Casa.
Okay. Am I missing something? I don't know what's happening. I'm missing something. Someone's crying?
Puta madre, puta madre. No, 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 no.
Okay. You definitely have a peculiar sense of decorating style, for sure. Is there gonna be a ghost kid? Where's the ghost kid?
No hay nadie.
Where's the ghost kid? Alright, not gonna lie, that kind of scared me. His reflection scared me.
Wow. Yo por eso no lo quería hacer.
You can see the chair slowly turning on its own without anyone touching it. Just seconds later, objects begin falling off
That's
the table
literally it?
one by one.
Okay, that was boring. That was literally boring. Thanks for wasting my time. I guess. Oh, there's more. It's the same guy. We're acting like he doesn't have at least one kid that could do that.
Ah, Dios mío.
Or like at least a partner or
Busca
anybody.
las llaves.
It's locked again.
No,
Convenient,
me la
right?
jalaron, me la jalaron, me la jalaron. ¿Qué hago? ¿Qué hago?
Deadpool.
Voy a entrar. Ay, güey.
Is it open now?
Mames. Voy a entrar, voy a entrar.
How? You gotta get the keys. It's locked. Oh, it's not locked anymore, conveniently enough.